All right, welcome everybody. This is the Xbox 2 podcast. Some technical difficulties, which I'll explain in just a minute. Hopefully everything sounds good because once again OBS was giving me some issues. Hopefully my voice isn't crackling like last time. But I am one of your hosts, Randall Thor 19, the man with a million, and we got a huge show for you guys today. But of course, as always, my co-host, my right-hand man, the man who makes this show late every single week. The one and only managing editor of Windows Central, Jez Corden. What's going on?
Hey, pal. It wasn't completely my fault this week.
No, it's always your fault.
It wasn't. Nah. You're the one with the broken OBS, which you could have checked without me, to be fair.
I did check without you. And
yeah, and it was broken.
Right, so I need to apologize to the patrons who are on the tier for being in the credits, which we, display during the stream. Jez sent me an updated list like 10 minutes before we were supposed to go live, and my OBS did not jive well with the new list because it made everything flash, which would make the podcast unwatchable. So I basically had to delete it. I have to figure out what the hell's wrong with it. But because Jez just strolls in, with like a glass of brandy, basically like puts his feet up on the table and is like, are we doing the show now? And he waits to the very end. I couldn't fix it in time because it would have taken forever because I don't even know what's wrong.
You could have got the list
It was working perfectly. It was working perfectly. So now I delete it. So I apologize. I apologize that your names aren't up on here. I apologize that Jez doesn't show up on time. I'm here. I was ready to roll. I mean, it is what it is. I am incredibly sorry. But I'll look into it after the show. I'll try to have it fixed for next week. And then the funny thing is, Jez was like, "Oh, I'm gonna join the call early this week, so we can get everything done." And I was like, oh, "Okay." And then he literally joins at 2:00, and he's like, "I'm early." I'm like, "What do you mean you're early? I said to get here at 1:30." And he's like, "Oh, my bad." It's like,
well, I lost track of time, man. Something came up. I had to write an article, and then I had to write another article. So, yeah, I don't know. Someone said my mic's popping. My mic's crackling now. Great.
Your mic. I mean, I don't hear your mic crackling.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Professional podcast. Jez is clipping. Oh, hang on. Am I in the wrong mic?
No, you're on the right mic. I'll just turn you down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm on the correct mic. I'm a bit loud. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jez needs to take 2 steps back from his mic. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. The gain's a little bit high. Well, turn me up on your end. I'll turn me down on my end.
Okay.
So I turn myself down on my end and turn me up. We should just start the show again.
No. We're good. This is This is why you need to have it all set up beforehand, Jez. We need to get there early, essentially.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Got a day job, unlike some people.
Oh, yeah.
Unlike some people just chilling with their Lamborghini.
I wish I was
margaritas.
I wish I was chilling with my Lamborghini.
Sunny Chicago.
But anyways, thank you all for being here so much. Apologize for the professional podcast that we are indeed. Jez, can you just make a promise to everybody that you're going to be here early so we can get things fixated and work? We can't we always prided ourselves as starting 15 minutes after 2, and now we're way beyond that because, as I call him, Jez Aldiva just strolls in, with like a bottle of brandy. Is like, "Is everything ready to go, Rand?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
I promise nothing.
Yeah, I know.
Nothing.
You do promise nothing. Anyways, make sure you guys do us a huge favor. I know the show just started, but for those of you who are just here, haven't hit that like button, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're first time here, if you're new, if you haven't yet. And make sure you share this out, let people know that the Xbox 2 is indeed live. So we got a lot here to talk about. Our reactions to the Xbox and Bethesda Showcase or Developer Direct, Hi-Fi Rush going viral, Xbox financials. I think Jez wrote an article about that. I don't know if you saw this, but apparently Starfield's release date leaked, which people sent me this thing constantly, all day today. And like I woke up for the podcast and I had like 3 missed calls. I had a missed call from Tim, I had a missed call from Colt, and I was like, is something going on? Because normally nobody ever calls me this early. And then I was like, I had all these notifications from people tagging me and stuff, and I'm like, okay, what did I miss? So there's that. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. So make sure you hit the like button. We got a great show planned. I don't know how long it's going to be. Another 4-hour mega show, or maybe shorter. I don't know. We have a lot here, including Patreon questions and all that stuff. But we get into some housekeeping really quickly, and basically we have another new sponsor for the Xbox 2 this week, and that is Factor. So this new year, you've got goals, and Factor is here to help achieve each and every one of them. Save time and have the energy you need to tackle everything on your to-do list with Factor's ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. Get Factor and not only skip the trip to the grocery store, but skip the chopping, prepping, and cleaning up. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy. With 34 chef-prepared, dietitian-approved weekly options, there's always something new to try. Plus, you can round out your meal and replenish your snack supply with an assortment of 36-plus quick bites, smoothies, juices, and more satisfying add-ons. And looking to cut back on takeout? Get Factor instead. Not only is Factor cheaper than takeout, but meals are ready quicker than restaurant delivery in just 2 minutes. So they're partnering up with Xbox 2, and you can head over to factormeals.com/Xbox260 and use the code Xbox260, so XBOXTWO60, the numerals, to get 60% off your first box. That's code Xbox260 at factormeals.com/Xbox260 to get 60% off your first box. They sent me one of their boxes, Jez. And yeah, everybody knows I'm on a diet. I've lost almost 70 pounds so far. So I've been looking for different ways, different meals to use, because I'm not really a cook. And the thing I like about... No, I am not a cook, and I don't have anybody here that can cook. So it's just basically me trying...
if I visited you, you wouldn't cook for me?
No, I definitely wouldn't cook for you. I'm sorry, Jez.
Oh, man.
So the thing that I liked about Factor is that basically everything comes prepared. There's no cooking, there's no cleanup. Everything comes in a microwavable, little dish. You just pop it in a microwave. 3 to 5 minutes later, you're eating your meal. And I particularly like the roasted garlic braised beef that I had this week, as well as the mushroom chicken thighs and wild rice. I don't know, it's just something really cool, because the box gets delivered to your house. So you don't got to go anywhere. It's packed with the dry ice to keep it cold. I had 6 meals I just threw in the freezer, and whenever I wanted something to eat, all I had to do is just take it out of the fridge or take it out of the freezer and just microwave it, and boom, 5 minutes later I'm eating food, and the food's actually quite good. So thank you to Factor for sponsoring this episode of the Xbox 2.
You had me a braised beef.
Bro, it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. But
it's,
I ain't gonna lie.
It's kind of makes me sad though, Rand, because it's not available in Britain.
I know.
So that's the sponsor just for you Americans out there.
Yep.
I suppose maybe Canadians too. I'm not sure though.
But yes, we also have the incredible Patreons as well. I should make mention that currently we have right now scheduled Xbox 2 Plus 1 on Monday at 2 p.m. Central Time. We will be joined by the one and only Jeff Grubb of Giant Bomb, and I personally can't wait to pick his mind about everything going on at Xbox. His thoughts of Developer Direct, what he thinks about this year in general, like what Xbox could have, and just everything Xbox. We're going to talk with Jeff Grubb, so I'm super excited for that. He said he was going to be able to do it. I reached out to him today to make sure to double confirm. He hasn't gotten back to me yet, but Jeff's a great guy, and I really appreciate his insights. So that will be live.
Right.
What?
Oh, you cut out there for a second.
Oh, did I? Well, that will be live on Monday for Patrons, but we also have the shout-out tier, right, Jez?
Yes, we do. I'll get some shout-outs right, and this week I'm going to try and do it all in one breath. So, let's see how this goes. Right, you ready? Okay, let's try that again. Right, Patreon shout-outs. Thanks to everyone who subscribes on our shout-out tier, so let's try this in one breath. The Bearded Tate, Saleets XZ, Army Dude 52, Mr. Butterjeans, William Schumacher, Ryan Keipel, Foreign Object, Mythic Mighty, Tyler, Goodstar75, Moroni Donkey, CMoney, Mary Cobb Madman on YouTube, Macazilla, Hi-Fi Rush sucks because of its graphics according to Tony Pony's lol, Randall 419, Silis Agagagdi, Elijah Vasquez, James Moore, Free Text Read, Katriox, Ricky Fallon, Nerdy Meathead, Bright Tundra, Jasper Schaap, Joseph Cabell, and the original name change. That other guy needs to watch out 1v1 on Russ. Oh no! I ran out of breath because I laughed. Oh well. Okay, we got through about half of it. Mr. Joanna Dark, Justin Duell, Frank Marino, People King, Justin Miller, Asa T, Madison, Untidy Team, Grizzly Mofo OG, Governor Grim, Dizzy Huffin, Jesse Tego, Andrew Courtney, Woggerman Achievement, Scarecrow 121, Darren Torpy, Professor JJ, Butterball, Ghostfake Killer, Wolfgang APZ, and Ralph Wiggum. Thanks for sponsoring us on Patreon, and thanks to everyone else, no matter what tier you're on, for supporting the show. Woo! Okay, well, I think I screwed that up, and that's all because of I am the original name change. The other guy needs to watch out 1v1 on Rust, whoever that is. I literally have no idea, but now everyone's changing their name on Patreon now and getting free text reads, which is interesting. Oh well, rock and or roll. I think that's it. Is that it for housekeeping, Rand? Is that it?
I believe so. All the Patreon producers are now linked in the description as well for all their channels. The people who are subscribed to that tier. So make sure you give them a follow or a subscribe if they're a YouTube member. So or a YouTube channel. So all those are in the description. And so that's housekeeping. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring the show. Thank you to all the Patreon members. We got Patreon questions at the end of the show as always, as well as your questions. So we need to just dive right in with some of this stuff. And we're starting off right away with the Super Chat, which also is basically a topic. So we might as well just talk about it. Sith Lord, what's going on, buddy? He says, CD keys at Starfield set for 3/23/23 could be fake. So here we go, Jez. This was the thing that everybody was just DMing me, like, proof, and I know Pong Soul is watching right now, and I know he's got a huge smile on his face, right? I know that Mav is watching, and he's just being like, yeah, right? I know that the cult of Starfield coming in March, which there's actually quite a lot of them. There's like a cult following. And I don't know who's the leader of this cult. Maybe it's Pong. Maybe it's Mr. Boomstick. I don't know. But there's definitely a cult that is out there saying Starfield's coming in March. And, they got a little bit... Yeah, there's like a... I mean, that's what I'm going to call it. The cult of Starfield in March. Right?
The cult of Starfield martialism.
Yeah, I don't know what we would call it.
What would you call it? Yeah, I don't know. But, That's an interesting theory. It's a very interesting theory. It's wrong.
It's wrong.
Yeah, Starfield's not launching it much. I mean, man, it would be nice, wouldn't it? But as far as I'm aware, they're still targeting the first half at 2023 as per whatever. But from what I understand is they are still leaving it open to the possibility that it may need more time. From what I understand. But it may not need more time. It might manage to get out by June, maybe even in June. I think your prediction is June, right, Rand?
Well, no, I just said that's when I felt it was... Keasante says, March, a cabal, if you will. Yes, the Starfield March cabal, with their leader, Pong Soul. No, I felt like the earliest it could really release was January because we know some people playing it. And have been playing it not that long, I guess, but basically, I sort of feel like March is too early. I even feel like April's too early. Like, to me, the most thing that made sense was June, based on, I don't know, just kind of like, well, it kind of like, I'm not going to go into it, but that was kind of basically my thought process was like, based on when everybody started playing it and all that stuff, it was like, this seemed to be the best time. There's still some polishing to go through and stuff. And a lot of the information surrounding Starfield is very fluid, especially its release date. Especially, I meant June. Not July. I've asked around, and some people have told me, there's going to be a slight delay. And then I've also asked around to those people later on, and they say, I don't know, could still come in the first half of the year, right? So it's one of those things where the information is basically constantly changing, it seems like. There's really no good answer. I mean, at least to the people I talk to, but I'm not an insider. So I'm sure if Jason Schreier was on the case, he'd probably have that stuff sniffed out already. I'm just saying, from what I've heard, the whole release date stuff is very fluid. Very fluid. Maybe it does come this half of the year, or maybe it does get slightly pushed. But the thing is, CD keys saying March 23rd, 2023, I put 0% stock in them knowing the release date. In them somehow, Microsoft only gave CD keys the correct release date and nobody else? Right? I think there's 0% chance that they actually know, and it's probably more of a date they picked. Yeah. So I don't believe it. I don't think you believe it. And I'm sorry, Pong. I'm sorry to the cabal of Starfield Marchitis. Is that even a word? Marchitis?
I think someone in chat said Marchfielders.
Marchfielders?
Marchfielders. The Marchists. Marchfield cult. Marchfield. Let's just call it the Marchfield cult.
Okay.
The Marchfield cult, yeah. I don't think it's March. And I think the CD keys thing is just a complete total placeholder. I think they just slammed some random numbers into the system. I mean, the CD keys thing says it's coming to the Bethesda launcher, which no longer exists. So, this is another little hint that there is very little stock to be putting into this store listing. But not enough people DM'd me that I thought I'll just write a PSA saying it's not to expect it in March. Yeah.
Maybe, what if they do another surprise drop like they just did? You're kind of saying, you said on Twitter, I mean, you've repeatedly said before, what if they shadow drop Starfield at E3?
That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
It'd be fun, but I sincerely doubt that's gonna happen. Starfield's not a game you just shadow drop.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Whatever.
I would do it.
Hey, Pong, what is the name of the group, the cabal what is the name that you want to be known as, so we can properly identify you guys? So.
Yeah, you got to come up with a cult name.
Yeah, you got to come up with your own cult name. Right?
You got to register the trademark.
But it's not only just 3/23/23. There's this idea of a Super Bowl ad as well. Starfield debuting during the Super Bowl. These are the things this is the Kool-Aid you have to drink. This is the refreshment that Pong Soul's handing out at the meetings in the local gym at 9 p.m. When you have to give thanks to the God Howard for creating the masterpiece that will be known as Starfield. Anyways, yeah, so I 0%, I believe the CD keys thing, basically none. 0% chance that Starfield is coming March 23rd, 2023. And if it does, then I don't know what I'll do. I'll do something. I don't know. I'll give someone on the podcast $100 or something. Someone in the audience. If that game gets released on 3/23/23, one of you lucky people who show up live I'll just give I'll give 5 people $100. How's that?
Wow, you gotta give Pong $100, sure.
Well, okay, I'll give Pong $100, and I'll also give 4 random Patreon members maybe I'll pick out a hat of all the Patreon members. I'll give 4 of them $100. You know, that's $500. I got $500 on the line right now. Pong, you get 100, and 4 random Patreon members will get 100 as well. That's how confident I am that CD Keys knows nothing about the release date.
So we officially give this rumor 0 shrimps out of 10.
0 shrimps out of 10. Basically, if we were talking about it in special Nick rumors, if we were giving this Nick rumor a rating, it'd be 0 Nicks out of 10.
0 Nicks.
0 Nicks out of 10.
0 Nicks.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's that one.
Yes.
We have more super chats to go through while we're in this segment. Super chat segment.
Yes. Well, I want to get to this member chat because the member chats don't pop up in this thing, but we got one here from Elijah Vasquez, member for 4 months, says, Rand, definition of an insider is a person who is in a position of power, has access to confidential information. No more denying it. But the thing is, I'm not in a position of power, and I don't have access to confidential information. I don't have documents.
Bullshit.
I don't have any of that stuff.
That's bullshit. Ryan's just literally gaslighting the whole Xbox 2 audience right now.
That is not true.
Insider. It's a Randall gaslighting, man.
No.
It's just I can't stand for it anymore, man. I can't stand for the gaslighting. The gaslighting, just accept it. You are Randall Insider. You might not have documents, but you do talk to people who know things behind the scenes. And you are in a position of power. You're approaching 100,000 subscribers. You do drive a Lamborghini with those YouTube.
That's not true. That's not true.
Yeah. So Randall Insider, you just enough with the gaslighting, man. Stop it.
All right.
Stop gaslighting everyone, bro.
All right. Alvin says it's 323, Jez. Unless you have a document to the contrary, the first party deck is cleared in March. It's really not surprising. Hit the like button. Indeed, hit the like button. But we have another member of Pong Soul's March Cabal, Alvin here, saying that unless you have documents to the contrary, Jez, it's coming. There's no first-party games in March, right? You have Hi-Fi Rush in January, but there's nothing in February. Nothing in March. Minecraft Legends in April. Redfall in May. Nothing in June yet. The deck is cleared for March, even though Ghostwire Tokyo is supposed to come in March. So, proof that it's coming, Jez. Get those documents, I guess.
I guess.
Carl Andrews Jr. says, ran in a previous podcast with Miles Dompier, but he spells it Miles Dumper. I'm going to call him that tomorrow. I'm going to be like, because I'm going to be on Xbox Chatter Days with Miles. I'm going to call him, hey, what's up, Miles Dumper? Oh God, I hope he's here.
Oh man, you can't be mean to Miles now. Miles is a big shot.
I know he's an IGN dude. Talk about an insider and someone in a position of power. He's rubbing elbows with the elites at IGN. You know?
Yeah, the elites.
I don't even. I'm thankful he's still got time for little old Rand. I thought he'd be inviting Ryan McCaffrey or Dustin Legary or any of the bigwigs at IGN to his podcast. Not little old Randolph Thor, you know?
Little Randolph Thor.
Just little old me.
Little old Rand.
So Carl goes on to say, you were going through all the original Xbox games. You were a PlayStation guy. How did Xbox win you over? Fan of the show. Jez is the best even when he's late. Jez is pretty damn awesome even if he's late. How did I become an Xbox fan when I was a PlayStation guy? Well, I mean, to be honest, Halo sort of won me over. Halo 2 got its hooks in me, and I played it nonstop for over a year. And I bought the 360. I think I got it like 2 months after it came out in January. You know, and then the achievements in Gamerscore got its hooks in me and pretty much didn't let me go until I hit the million, and actually even beyond the million because I'm at like 1.3 million now. And honestly, it was mostly because it was that's a heavy factor, right? Halo and achievements. But the beginning of the PS3 gen, like when I had the PS1 and the PS2, big fan. I'm waiting for the PS3 gen, and if you guys remember, Sony was super arrogant during those times. Next gen doesn't start until we say it does, right? People will have to get a second job to afford the PS3. Our fans would buy this system if it came with rocks. Like all these quotes that they were using because
with rocks.
Yeah, there was like a quote from one of them that was basically like, yeah, our fans would buy this system if it came with rocks in the box or whatever it was, or rocks' game, like basically saying they'd buy it if it had no games. And then like for that early years on the PS3, not only was it $600, which at the time I didn't really have a lot of disposable income, but also it didn't really have any games. Kind of facing what people say about Xbox recently, about how Xbox has no games. They didn't really have much. You know, they had like Layer, and I can't even think of some of the other ones, but it was dry. And not only was it dry, the exclusives that they had during the early PS3 era were not good either. It wasn't really until Metal Gear Solid 4 that came out that they kind of had their first big release. And then everything started to kind of change around the time like Uncharted 2 came out and was highly reviewed, and they started to get better games. But for a while there in the beginning, they just didn't have anything. So
yep, it was.
By that point in time, and the 360 also had a lot of third-party exclusives. Oblivion was exclusive, BioShock was exclusive, Saints Row was exclusive, Ghost Recon was exclusive, and then Gears of War came out in that first year, right? Like they were firing on all cylinders. At the time, PlayStation was basically shitting the bed, So it was an easy switch, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, I just took one look at that PS3 price and just noped out of the whole platform forever. And then the Xbox 360 went digital and kind of locked me in. I didn't even have the whole Halo thing going for me. It just sort of happened that way.
Yeah. Supernova says, where is the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition? Jez, do you have any info on this?
Definitive Edition they're doing, right? I suppose with the DLC.
Yeah.
I have no idea. No idea. I suppose that's probably going to launch this year as well at some point. But I haven't heard anything about it on my end, I'm afraid. Nothing new to say there.
I should have mentioned Mass Effect as well, Antonio. That did come out in 2007, I want to say, and Mass Effect was also a big reason because they had the partnership with BioWare. You're right. I wasn't thinking of all the games. I was thinking of like the third-party exclusives that they were using at the time that ended up being big. But Mass Effect at the time was a first-party game. But you're right. But the Spacer's Choice, that's supposed to be the next-gen version of Outer Worlds. I think even though it's been updated on the Series X to run at 60 frames, this would presumably have more updates, I guess, maybe.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Let's see, what else we got? Murnaka, sorry if I said your name wrong. He says, look at me, I'm the sponsor now. He's the sponsor. Detective Seeds with a very generous super chat. He says, 1, I reviewed Hi-Fi Rush and it was amazing. Very impressed with their work. 2, there are 900 people here. Get the likes up for these guys. Indeed, make sure you guys hit the like button, share this out. And 3, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you, Detective Seeds. And I still have to apologize for last week when you paid the money for Jez to do his goblin voice and all he said was, got some money? And that was it. That was it.
Yeah, no. I will.
Murnaka says, how are the shoutouts not set on a beat this week? Yeah, you would think setting the beat. I'm just happy if the podcast goes out without a technical problem with the issues I've been having lately. And I would, kill somebody to get Jez Corden arrived in the show at 1:30 so we can have everything ready to go.
Dude, you know what I was thinking? You know what I thought earlier, man? Was I remember when you got that PC you've got now. It's got a 1060 in it, right? GTX.
It's 1080.
1060.
It's got 1080.
1080, sorry. I remember when you got that, and I was thinking, like, oh my god, Rand must be so rich to be able to afford a 1080. Like, that's how long ago it was that you got that PC. Oh man, and now like 1080 is like, it's not. It's beyond old hat,
Yeah, I need.
Where's your RTX 3090 PC, Rand?
I need to buy a new PC. I got to step up I got to start doing 4K videos. This PC's not going to cut it anymore, so I definitely have to upgrade. This PC is like 4 years old at this point, so I need to step my game up essentially.
We should get Robitech to make you a custom Xbox 2 branded.
We should. Slowpoke Puskin says Jez should talk about Manscaped with the goblin voice. Yes, Manscaped will be back next month.
Yes.
We'll have more crazy ad reads for them. You can always use the code at Manscaped XB2 just because we don't talk about it on some episodes. You can still use our code there. So
yep, code's still live.
Jason B says Rand about to get a 4090. I don't even know if I need to get a 4090 because I'm not going to play video games on the PC. Who does that? You know, the PC. My PC is basically used to make videos and watch YouTube videos. What do I need a 4090 for? I guess it would maybe help me render videos faster, but like how much faster? Because I'll be getting a better CPU. I mean, the PC I have now and the PC I'm going to get, like, it's going to be night and day. So it's like, do I really need a 4090? I don't think so. But will I get one? Maybe.
Just get one. Just get one, bro.
It's more about
kidney, bro.
It's more about the RAM. Darnell Hill says, did we talk about Hi-Fi yet? Not yet. We're going through the housekeeping and seeing if anybody has any topics they want to talk about in the super chats. And then we have a lot to say about everything here. So let me go back. And Billy Ball says, if you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club. Jez, what's better, a custard cream or a bourbon cream?
Ooh, custard cream. Custard cream, man. Custard creams are just so good. Man, I haven't had one for a while. I need to buy some. Thanks for that. Remind me to buy some custard cream. I'm going to do that right now. Thanks to the power of Amazon.co.uk and then Morrison's integration. Let's go for that right now. Custard cream, man. You don't get custard creams in America, I bet. Because America's only got lame biscuits. You only got lame-ass biscuits there.
No, we got.
You just got your Oreos. What are the biscuits you have? You got Oreos?
I don't know. We have one here. I like the super chat from Chaos Might. He says, Jez, aka Jeremy, why not write your articles while you're early with Rand? That would be something.
Well,
that would be something, wouldn't it?
I honestly thought I was. I thought I was logging on early, and I remember looking at the clock, and it was 7:30. I thought, okay, I'm gonna log on to Discord in a sec, and then I looked back again, and I logged onto Discord, and then Ram was like, "Oh my god, you're late again." I was like, "No, I'm not. It's 7:30," but it wasn't. It was 8. So yeah,
indeed. Our buddy Sing Vendetta, he says, Rand, Jez, Goldeneye finally dropped last night, and it's just as great as it was back in the 90s. It feels so much better to control in the dual analog Xbox controller than it was on the N64 controller. It's so much fun. That's actually one of the topics, because, I got to give my buddy Special Nick a little shiz today. A little shiz. Because this dude been talking about GoldenEye this and GoldenEye that and GoldenEye this and GoldenEye's Game of the Year whenever it comes out. Game of the Year 2022, Game of the Year 2023. Just constantly chirping and opening up his mouth, capping constantly for a game that's 25 or 26 years old, right? And finally it comes out.
Oh no.
Finally, although it wasn't important enough to be at the Developer Direct, so it didn't ruin the Developer Direct, because it definitely would have if it had shadow dropped then. But so it finally comes out last night, and I'm like, well, this is the game that Special Nick has been waiting for forever. How much has he played of this game? He's got to have the campaign done by now, right? And I go to his profile, and he has one achievement, and he's played the game for 50 minutes. I was stunned. I was stunned. So I went. I basically, I didn't make a tweet and put it. I replied to him and I with the picture, and I'm like, man, look at all this capping you're doing for this game, and you can't even play it. It's almost like I said, people are going to play GoldenEye for 15 minutes, or in this case, an hour, and then just drop it. Which, by the way, it's also sounds like it's not a good port. It runs at 30 frames on the Series X. It has some problems, although you can customize the controls so it actually feels modern. And on the Switch, you can play multiplayer, but apparently don't have custom controls, and the controls are god-awful on the Switch, apparently. So, yeah. I guess take your poison. Do you want modern controls and maybe a better-looking version running at 30 frames, but no multiplayer, or multiplayer but a version of the game that is awful to control? I guess pick your poison. Me, I just wouldn't pick the poison because GoldenEye is better left off in the past. Because people in nostalgia, you're not really interested in replaying GoldenEye. You're really interested in basically reliving that point in your life where GoldenEye was out. You want to relive that feeling when you played it for the first time with your buddies when you were 10 years old or 16 years old. That's what you're craving. That's why you're looking for it, is you want to relive that moment in your life. But the game, anything will never give you that feeling again. You're old now. You're like in your 40s. You got kids. You're no longer 14 years old. GoldenEye's not going to do anything for you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be the grumpy old man here, but that's just the truth.
You are pretty grumpy.
I am. I'm pretty grumpy. I'm also kind of just, over-exaggerating a little bit, but, it's the truth. There's a kernel of truth in what I said, right?
Maybe.
Roberto says, I really want to replay GoldenEye. Rand is so wrong in this one. I'm just having fun. Hopefully everybody that really wants to play GoldenEye enjoys it, and I hope you have a really great time with it. I'm just kind of just having fun at Nick's expense about all this. I don't really care what anybody plays, as long as you're playing something and having a great time, Plus, so I live for exposing Nick and making fun of him. Come on.
Poor Nick.
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, you and Nick have that in common. Nick's been gaslighting everyone about GoldenEye. You're gaslighting everyone about being an insider. Maybe you got more in common than you think, bro.
No. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty good looking. Nick isn't, so we don't have that much in common, right?
Oh wow! Wow!
Because Nick always goes around and be like, Nick always goes around and is like, look how good looking I am. I'm like, okay. Conceited much? Space Dovican has been member for 21 months. Says that's not even GoldenEye's final form. Yeah. We got a super chat here from Spitfire Spud Gaming who says Starfield is launching in the fall. Why? We are all waiting for a Starfield to fall. A star to fall, basically. He's saying we're waiting for a star to fall. So, okay. That's funny. Kissimmee South 9000 says, hey guys, just wanted to know if you have heard anything about Killer Instinct coming back or anything Marvel vs. Capcom related info. I'm assuming MVC is Marvel vs. Capcom. Keep up the awesome work, gentlemen. Yeah, there was a rumor, well, a little bit ago. And I mean, quite a bit ago, actually, about Killer Instinct coming back. I think you talked about it, right? A little bit?
Yeah, there was like the vaguest of vague rumors that maybe Microsoft will partner with a Japanese developer on it, but honestly, I got nothing, and I kind of think it's still on. I think it's still on mothballs, as you Americans, as the Americans say. Oh, sorry, you can't say that anymore. You can't say the Americans, according to Associated Press. But yeah, I don't think so. Nah.
I want Killer Instinct to come back.
I do, yeah.
And you know
Microsoft
what?
Does. It's like, who makes it?
I want Killer Instinct to come back and just shadow drop it. Why not? Just shadow drop it. I'm a fan of this. We'll talk a little bit later why, but like the idea of the shadow dropping something that's really great to set the internet ablaze, I think could work because it's definitely working for Hi-Fi Rush in a way that I think if they had released a trailer a year ago, people would have been like, cool, but then people would have been like, oh, man, they would be second-guessing themselves. They'd be going over the footage and being like, is this the kiddie game that Xbox wants to put out? Just 12 teraflops and this art style you're using? And people would put their hopes, like, Xbox would be like, haven't released any games, but then they'd be like, this is the first game, and they put all their unrealistic expectations on it, right, even though the trailer looked great. So you basically just wipe that all off the table, and boom, it's available now to play. We'll talk a little bit more about it later because I think it was a superb marketing strategy which fits this game to a T, and maybe it could be used for other experiences as well. But yeah, what else we got here? We have Donataku saying, so can Xbox transform Tango into Xbox Studios Japan and have Shinji Mikami oversee it and hire talent by studios? Also, just subscribed on Patreon. Well, thank you.
Oh, thanks so much.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So I think Tango's still under Bethesda, and I know Bethesda's under Xbox, but I think Bethesda's basically in charge of those studios. So I don't really see Tango becoming Xbox Game Studios Japan, I could see a scenario where like developers who are making stuff in Japan see how Xbox is treating Bethesda and especially or specifically in this case Tango, and how they're working with Hideo Kojima on whatever game he is, and they'd be maybe more inclined to work together. And
it's kind of like Bethesda has a similar arrangement with Microsoft that Mojang has, where they describe it as a limited integration subsidiary. So, like, for all intents and purposes, Bethesda's essentially like Mojang, as in largely separate. Obviously, they work more closely together, and they make games that are exclusive and stuff like that. But they have a lot of freedom. But I think it's important to note that this game was in development before the acquisition. This was like the other game Tango was working on alongside Ghostwire Tokyo. So, a lot of people have said. I saw there was someone on social media said that this game wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Game Pass or whatever. And then like one of the devs came back. I was like, actually, this game was in development before Game Pass, and all that kind of stuff. So, it's but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, maybe Microsoft elevated this game a little bit. I mean, I think Double Fine was on the record of saying that Microsoft helped them elevate the game a little bit. Maybe Microsoft was able to help on some of the licensed music and having a bit of extra budget to make those kind of plays, because Nine Inch Nails on the soundtrack. Quite surprised about that. But yeah, I think this is a good look for Microsoft in Japan, hopefully. And Tango Gameworks has always been sort of billed as an incubator of new talent. I think that's essentially what Shinji Mikami wanted for Tango Gameworks. Was it to be like there's a lot of student developers there, or a lot of fresh faces there, a lot of fresh talent while they're looking for the next big thing and stuff. So yeah, I think this is a really great thing. And I suppose I think my next question for you, Randy, is: have you actually played it? Have you played Hi-Fi Rush?
Yes. We will definitely talk about that when we talk about the showcase and get into our thoughts about it. Because I have played, I don't know, 6 hours of Hi-Fi Rush. I've got a decent amount of time into it. Probably played it more than you. I'll finish the game unlike you,
Wow.
I mean, it's true. Wow. Are you going to finish Hi-Fi Rush?
Yeah, I will.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Are you also going to finish Dead Space? Because I'll finish that. No, you won't. No, you won't. No, you won't. Did you finish Callisto Protocol? A game that you actually said you enjoyed and liked?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Did you finish Evil West, another game that you also said you liked?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sensing a pattern here, Jez. I'm sensing a pattern.
Yeah, whatever. This is one game that I probably will finish.
Oh, this is the one game out of the hundreds of games that you played this is the one. This is the one that you'll finish.
Yeah. I'm pretty deep in Dead Space right now, so it would be weird if I didn't finish Dead Space. I've had it for a week. So
what level are you on?
I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember the level.
I'm not talking Dead Space. I'm talking what track are you on in Hi-Fi Rush?
Oh, I barely.
Oh! Wow! Imagine that.
I killed the first boss.
You went through the tutorial level.
Yeah, I done the tutorial level. Well, I've been playing Dead Space. I've been playing a load of games this week, actually.
Got it. I love you, Jez. And it's dude, all the rest of your time is just playing World of Warcraft, right?
I haven't played Warcraft that much this week. I mean, do you want me to tell you what I've been playing this week?
Sure, go ahead. Give us the rundown. What you've been playing?
I've been playing, and this is completely out of left field. I've put about 10 hours into Nier Automata this week.
Really? That's a great game. I really, really enjoy that game. It's one of the reasons I want them to work with Platinum again, because they do make incredible games.
Yeah,
depending on the team.
My cousin was visiting, and she really wanted me to play it, and I was like, okay, I'll play it. And I finally got over. I realized why I stopped playing it now. There's a part in Nier Automata where you sort of end up with like tons of side quests, right? But you don't actually have fast travel. And I just kind of dropped off when I got to that bit with all the side quests. But I powered over that now. And I'm like moving again towards the main story. And I just finished the bit with the castle. done another few bosses, and I'm finally like getting really into it. But then what landed in my inbox was Dead Space. So then I've been sidetracked by that a little bit.
And how's Dead Space? I'm so excited to play this game.
It is fantastic.
Oh, I love to hear that. I love it. Phenomenal.
It's amazing. It's brilliant. They nailed it. It's perfect. It's everything I was hoping for and more. I mean, the only downside, the only criticism I got of it is that the frame rate with performance mode turned off is really choppy, I think. And I don't know if that's because the TV I've got here in England doesn't have variable refresh rates, so maybe that will offset for people who do want to turn the ray tracing on. But it looks absolutely great even in performance mode. I think you lose ray tracing and stuff when you turn performance mode on. But then it's like perfect 60 frames per second. Lighting's still amazing. It looks stunning. A lot of the sort of janky kind of systems, like the 0G sections in the old game, they're all really improved. And oh man, it's just magic. It's just a magical game. And it just reminds me of like the golden age of survival horror is kind of returning on the back of remakes, which is kind of interesting. We're going to get Resident Evil, we're getting the Silent Hill remake, we're getting Alan Wake 2. There's a bunch of horror games coming out soon. That new game from the Amnesia devs looks really good too. I'm really excited. Dead Space, they nailed it. They absolutely nailed it. I think we gave it 5 out of 5.
Remakes just work, man. Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes. Now this Dead Space 1. Hopefully it does well so they can remake 2 because, oh my God, I need a Dead Space 2 remake, right? But other than that, other publishers and devs have to be looking at older successful content that people love that they could remake into, with today's graphics and all, modern performances, right? Like, you probably say the Resident Evil 2 remake is probably more substantial than the Dead Space run because that was on the, I forget what console, it was PS1.
And it was top, man.
It was top down, right? This one was like fully 3D. So you can say like that one was probably more work, or at least more of a remake, or because they basically reimagined. Well, they didn't reimagine the game. They took it from a, static. Well, it wasn't top down. It was static, camera angles. And this one, it's like, it's a 360 game from 2008, but just the way it looks and the way it plays and some of the changes they made, it's like, what other games could we see from? I'm not talking about PlayStation remaking Horizon Zero Dawn, like the rumors suggest, right? The game that only came out like 5 years ago, which supposedly they're talking about remastering or remaking or whatever. I'm talking about games from the 360 gen, because I think that generation, especially the stuff in the early gen, are very ripe to be remade with all the standards that you have now. Is there anything that you personally would love to see get remade from like the 360 and before generation, essentially?
There's a bunch of sort of niche kind of games that I would love to see remade, but I just don't think are realistic. Like for example, someone in the chat said Parasite Eve. Like Parasite Eve 2 is I actually never played Parasite Eve 1. I'm not sure if it even launched in the UK, but Parasite Eve 2 was absolutely phenomenal. It's very similar to Resident Evil, so artificially, with the static camera backgrounds and the tank controls and all that kind of stuff. But it was spooky as hell. It was such a creepy game, mutants and sort of classic survival horror. But you also had magical powers, like you could shoot fireballs and stuff in addition to having guns. Like Parasite Eve 2 is just absolutely incredible. One thing that I think is more realistic that they actually do go and remake is Dino Crisis. Like I don't know any game that has such an outcry, an ongoing outcry for a genuine Resident Evil engine remake than Dino Crisis, and it makes total sense. Like they've already got Tyrannosaurus models in Monster Hunter that could probably repurpose for Dino Crisis. I don't know why they don't do it. It feels like such low hanging fruit. You know, the Capcom is already well versed in the locomotion of giant reptiles. So why the hell wouldn't you do it? There's also like, you know, there's an argument to be made that some of their other games could like be rebooted, like Lost Planet. I'd love to see Lost Planet get rebooted. I'd love to see Breath of Fire get rebooted. Or, you know, some of those classic games remade. I mean, people in the chat are making some great suggestions.
Yeah, Lost Odyssey. Yeah.
Lost Odyssey would be great. Jade Empire.
I mean, they are remaking
2.
They are remaking Knights of the Old Republic, right? Or which deserves one. You know, we know there's Silent Hill 2. There's rumors surrounding Metal Gear. There's just games that you could remake. And I know people are like, well, hey, I want new ideas and stuff. And I'm not saying you give up on new ideas, but I'm saying publishers have very popular games that they could bring back again. Like, we could get a resurgence of Dead Space. We could get, like, an actual proper Dead Space 3. Like, you know, I know Dead Space was more of a cult hit, but, like, bringing it back now, like, could essentially revive the franchise, and we could get more new stuff. And if this is successful, maybe they go and they do another one. Like, it's funny because I've always said as well, like, give me a new IP instead of a remake or remaster. But then I got one with Callisto Protocol that I thought was going to be the Dead Space successor, and now I'm getting Dead Space. And I realized that Callisto Protocol, so I got what I wanted, but Callisto Protocol ended up not being as good as I thought, and the Dead Space remake is just going to prove that it's like, you know, the king of the mountain in that regard, you know, sci-fi survival horror. So it's like,
yeah, I mean, the one thing about Dead Space which I wasn't sure about was, you know, I won't spoil it, you know, for anyone who hasn't played the original or the remake, but the remake is like, I almost wish they'd strayed a little further from the original, a little bit maybe, to surprise me and stuff. I mean, it is very, very similar to the original so far, at least, for me. And I was kind of hoping there'd be like more surprises, and, you know, for someone who you know, the original is quite fresh in my memory for some reason. And I was playing it, I was like, I remember that, you know. So it's kind of cool and nostalgic way to go and re-experience that with great graphics now, and the graphics truly are amazing. But I kind of wish they'd taken more liberties. Like Resident Evil 2 remake, kind of
set the bar.
Took a lot of liberties. Like, it changed quite a lot about the original.
Well, I believe Dead Space has a new alternate ending.
It does. So supposedly, so we'll see.
I think they even added some other stuff. I'm super excited to play it. I'm gonna be playing it as soon as I finish Hi-Fi Rush, and I'll be able to talk about it on the next week podcast. You know, and like one of the perks of the podcast or the Patrons is that they pick the gameplay, and Monster Hunter Rise won again. But if we had waited to post from the Developer Direct, we would have put Hi-Fi Rush in there, and I'm sure that would have won.
We'll do that next week.
Yeah, but Hi-Fi Rush will probably win next week.
The one thing me and Rand were going back and forth on is whether we should have had Dead Space as a gameplay option this week, but we weren't sure if YouTube would have demonetized the podcast.
YouTube is very, very much against like violent content, and Dead Space can be pretty violent and gory. So, we'll see. We might do that. I'm gonna wait and see, because my buddy is posting a bunch of Dead Space videos, and I'll see if his videos get demonetized. But then he's probably not really showing any of the combat stuff, so we'll see.
We'll use him as a guinea pig.
Yeah, we'll use him as a guinea pig to see if it's okay. But
I was kind of wondering, because it's not violence against humans. As long as I don't die, it should be okay. But then again, you know, there is one scene in Dead Space, or there is a few scenes in Dead Space where you do encounter humans being brutalized by necromorphs. So I don't know. It's hard to say. But there's a bunch of games I'll probably put in for next week, because you know, people laugh at me like not completing games, but I've been playing a wide variety of games this week.
Have more people been laughing at you since I've been laughing at you?
Well, nah, it's mostly just you.
It's just me.
It's just so mean.
I'm so mean. I just want you to beat games, Jez. So we can talk about these things. So I feel like I can't talk to you about these games because it'll spoil everything. So what'd you think of the 8th level in this? Oh, I didn't get that far, mate. I was playing World of Warcraft or whatever, you know?
I'm what they call a grazer. Like Microsoft literally has an internal metric for people who play lots of random games simultaneously. Like right now, I'm playing Nier Automata, World of Warcraft, Monster Hunter Rise, Hi-Fi Rush,
Dead Space.
Callisto Protocol I've still got installed. Who was I talking to? I was talking to Joaquin, our buddy Joaquin on Twitter, and he was talking to me about how much he liked Frostpunk. So I went and reinstalled Frostpunk as well. So yeah, I get.
And here I am just playing one game at a time, right?
I can't do it. I can't play just one game at a time. I don't know how you do that. Like, don't you get tired?
No.
Don't you get bored?
I mean, I read one book at a time. I know people out there that read like 5 books at once or have 5 things going at once. I just read one book at a time and move on to the next book.
I saw a tweet of someone fighting something cool in Fallout 76. So I went and installed Fallout 76 as well, knowing full well I don't have time to play it properly and stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways.
I just get distracted easily, I think.
Sourbloww18 says, I saw Rand in the Dev Direct in the background. Did you?
Oh, really?
Did you see me back there trying to gather all the information about everything? You got a keen eye there. KS Mice says, if Starfield releases on 3/23/23, then start using camera. Oh, you know... no, I mean, that would be interesting. I mean...
Oh, that's a good bet.
Well, it is a good bet, but I already agreed to $500 to just random people, 1 to Pong Soul and 4 to random Patreons. You know, I should have thought about the camera, but the camera will come eventually, probably. And then you guys will be like, oh my God, we want the old podcast back. The Don, CJG says, time is money, friend. Indeed it is. Cod Orphan left us a super chat, but not a message. Connor Smith says, Rand and Jez, how are the diets going? I mean, pretty good for me. I'm almost at 70 pounds lost, which is great. I'm gonna start, doing more walking and doing all that, incorporating it into everything I do. Jez, how's it going for you?
Oh, not good.
Not good.
I'll be completely honest. I don't know. I dropped off the wagon. I haven't gained much weight, but I haven't really lost any either. I really need to get back on the wagon. I did mention on Twitter that I was talking to doctors about maybe getting one of those bariatric surgeries, where they sort of staple your stomach so it's smaller and stuff. But it's £12,000, which is like $15,000 or something. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of thinking, well, if I'm paying that much money, I might as well just try and diet normally and save the money. So I can't really afford that much money. So, and I was thinking, well, I could finance it and pay monthly or something. But then even that is well, it's a lot of money lost each month, and then the interest on top. But I don't know. I just got an issue with food. Always have done. Always will do. Probably, even if I do lose the weight, like I did. I lost 200 pounds in my 20s. Like I was 420 pounds in my 20s, and I lost 200 pounds in a year. And the whole time I was thin, I was still like thinking, man, I just want a big pizza.
I mean, I want a big pizza too, but it's just about it's about moderation. It's about so I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully, maybe I know, like maybe a year from now I can be like, wow, look at the change from where, because I have pictures from my sister's wedding, and then like if I reach the goal I want to reach, I can be like, look at the before and after, let's see what that looks like. Joaquin Brandt, did I say that right? Did I say our buddy's name right? I don't know. Joaquin. He says, hey friendos, with the success of Hi-Fi Rush, will that serve as a sign to Xbox to further investment in Japanese devs is needed? Thanks, ladies.
I think they'll definitely be encouraged by it. It's not going to be a bad thing, right?
Yes.
I just like they've got a massive uphill climb with Japanese devs. I mean, we talked about the other week how Capcom sent out a survey.
Yep.
And the survey was like, where do you buy your games? Nintendo, PlayStation, PC, mobile, or other?
Other.
Like Xbox, other. Xbox wasn't even an option. which is weird because Microsoft has a pretty good relationship with Capcom, right? So it
you would hope so.
You would hope so, because the Monster Hunter thing and all the other stuff. Monster Hunter's hit Game Pass on Xbox and PC, but not only just PC. It's also got Xbox Play Anywhere support, and you can, move your save file from PC version to Xbox if you buy it on the Windows Store, not Steam version, all that kind of stuff. Which is, that's a non-trivial amount of work that the devs have to do to make that happen. So it's kind of odd that Capcom didn't even consider to put Xbox in that survey. I mean, would it have been a complete mistake, a complete oversight, or do they just not care about Xbox? I think I wrote an article this week which went out just before the Developer Direct, and then the point I was making was completely overshadowed by Hi-Fi Rush. But I was kind of like, Xbox has a desire problem, like Xbox people. The value of Xbox is there. Like, everyone knows Xbox is great value. Everyone knows Xbox Game Pass is great value. But, like, kids don't want Xbox. The kids don't ask for Xbox for Christmas. People don't, get excited about Xbox in the same way that Nintendo and PlayStation have that sort of, the prestige thing. And it's all because of exclusive games. And we expect this year they're going to fix it. And I think Hi-Fi Rush is the first salvo in that effort. And I think more Japanese games is going to help solve that problem as well. But we'll see.
Quality. They have to be quality. The reason people are so excited about Hi-Fi Rush is because it's incredibly good. If it had just released and just been mediocre, it wouldn't be getting this kind of viralness that we sort of saw with High in Life to a certain degree. People wouldn't be talking about it and raving about it, and it just would have just came and went. Sort of like Somerville. Like, Somerville was another game that Xbox had as a console exclusive from one of the makers of Inside. And then it just kind of came out one week and nobody really talked about it, even though people had talked about it for quite a bit. From the initial trailers, and people were really excited. And then it finally released and there wasn't really a lot of interest, in it whatsoever. So, yeah.
I want to ask you something about this, actually.
What?
How do you think Hi-Fi Rush would have played out if Microsoft had done a traditional marketing cycle for it?
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to the Developer Direct, because I do have a lot to say about it. Sin Vendetta says, Rand, you're right. Goldeneye is a game to play to recapture my teen years, and I will have a blast playing through it again. Also, the 1,000 gamer score seems pretty easy to get as well. Really, does it?
Oh, no.
Am I going to queue up Goldeneye? Should I go for should I get the 1,000 gamer score and then brag to Nick? Because will Nick even get it? Maybe I should do that. Interesting. Thanks for telling me that, Sin. Maybe it's something I should do. Chaos Might says, Rand confirmed Soulbound Shadow Drop. What's Soulbound?
Soulbound?
I have no idea what Soulbound is, and I haven't confirmed any Shadow Drop.
Soulbound is the remake of Scalebound.
Oh, Soulbound's the remake of Scalebound? All right.
Yeah, maybe.
And MechLord107 says, Phil had an interview with IGN and just said he's more confident now than ever of the deal closing. I did see that. There was an interview that just dropped right before we went live, but I have not been able to read it yet. Maybe we'll go over it at some point during the show, probably. And Jeff D says, what's your take on the day before drama? Yeah, Jez, do you know anything about the day before drama?
So, for those who don't know, Day Before is some kind of it's a game that only had a CGI trailer so far, I believe. And IGN had a bunch of interviews with the devs and stuff like that when it was announced. And increasingly, it's starting to look like another scam, like that other game. What was that other game called that was a scam?
Abandoned, when everybody thought it was a Hideo Kojima game, but it was just kind of like a scam, right?
I'm supposed to have a gameplay drop this past week, and then the devs sort of said, "Oh, we can't do a gameplay drop because of a copyright issue." And this studio is controversial because they comprise the volunteers or something, and they don't want to pay their devs. They just want volunteers. So now it's it's sort of like everyone's saying, yeah, this is another scam. This is another abandoned situation kind of thing. So yeah, I just think it's another vaporware game. You'll never see that. You'll never see that game launch.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
Not much more to say.
Yeah, there's not really much more to say, but I didn't even really know about it until apparently the game was supposed to come out real soon, and then they released a statement saying that they have to delay it to the end of the year because they didn't own the copyright to the game or something, or the name,
Yeah.
or the trademark.
Some beans.
And people are just like, "Oh, this is just a bunch of bull." So I really didn't know much about it until basically this past week. So. Yeah. All right. So let's get in some of these topics, and I want to start with the funny one. All right. I want to start with the funny one because we were going to get into the Developer Direct and all that stuff. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you're enjoying the show. We have over 1,400 here. We appreciate all of you. Thank you for all the support. Thank you to those listening later on iTunes and Spotify and those great places. But I don't know if you knew this, Jez. But Xbox has gone woke. It's gone woke. No! It's over. It's gone woke.
It ain't so.
Cancel it. Cancel. Xbox has gone woke.
Cancel.
And you might be wondering, Rand, what are you talking about? What do you mean Xbox has gone woke? What are they doing? Well, a couple weeks ago, we talked about Xbox's new update, where they basically have pushed an update, or I don't know if it's just to the insiders, but maybe I think it's to everybody, where everybody gets like the default setting is now sleep, where your system turns off, and the console is carbon aware and will download updates when it's better for the electrical grid and all that stuff. But it's just optional. You can change it back to the normal one where it just goes to, suspend mode, right? But it uses way less energy when you completely turn it off. So you save money in your power bill. And considering in this day and age when inflation is through the roof, eggs are like $10 for a dozen, because there was like a bird flu or chicken flu, so they had to kill a bunch of chickens, and obviously supply and demand, right? Not a lot of supply of eggs, so the demand goes up, the price goes up, all that good stuff. But yeah, Fox News really just legitimately without tongue in cheek talked about this as this was like the worst thing possible about how Xbox has gone woke, and they're trying to indoctrinate the kids, because video games are only for kids. And now when kids turn on their Xboxes, Xbox is gonna, and this is like kind of like a direct quote, but it's more paraphrased, that they're gonna turn on the Xbox, and the Xbox is gonna tell them, "Oh my God, the world's on fire!" And it's just like, are you really? Is this the grift that you're trying to present? That Xbox having an optional power mode to save money on your bill, considering everybody's bills for everything is basically through the roof. Inflation through the woof. Pronounce the R, Rand. I'm sorry. I get like this. You guys know I had speaking problems growing up, and I went to a speech therapy for a long time. Sometimes when I speak really quickly, I mispronounce my words. I apologize. I meant roof. You guys know exactly what I meant. Roof.
I mean roof.
Yeah, roof. But yeah, I couldn't believe it, because they were dead serious, and it's like, these damn wokeists. Everything's woke now. Everything's so woke now. The term woke has completely lost its meaning.
Did it even have a meaning?
I mean, it had a meaning. Of course it does. You can go look at the meaning of what it was. People conscious of social issues and stuff like that. But apparently, now it's been turned into this like horrible thing. But the idea of Xbox having an optional power mode to save you money and in the process help the environment is weird, because literally almost every electronic device out there, computers and all that stuff, all have energy saving modes where it doesn't cost that much money. And I just find it's also ironic coming from them, sitting in a studio with studio lights, TVs, computers that are probably generating so much energy and wasting so much money, complaining about an Xbox that is going to be turning off every night and saving people money. Like, the hypocrisy for the grift that people don't even realize they're being grifted is astounding, isn't it?
I think this is kind of funny, because it kind of exposed that they'll take any issue and turn it into a culture war thing, because the goal is not to actually have a genuine position. The goal is to just keep people stupid and divided and distracted from the real issues, which is, well, let's not get into it. But it's just bullshit. It's just more bullshit. Fox News is just bullshit. They lost the court case to the point where they had to deny they're a genuine news organization because they just lie. And the way they got around that was to say, we're not news, we're entertainment. Yeah, entertainment for sure. Load of bullshit. Xbox has had a power saving mode since the Xbox One launched back in the day. They're just trying to let more people know about it. PlayStation has it.
Yeah,
everyone
they all have it. They all have it. Every PC has it. They all have this thing, but somehow it's woke now. It's woke. Even the great senator from Texas, and I use the word great as obviously I don't really mean it, but Ted Cruz said something about it. It's like, bro, do your freaking job. Resign as well, please. Maybe get Texas a better energy grid, so when it gets really cold in Texas, everybody's pipes don't burst and the electricity turns off and people don't die because of the cold weather. Maybe you should do your job for a change instead of worrying about optional energy saving modes in a console. Yeah. Anyways,
cringe, bro. As a Brit watching America bend itself into knots over complete bullshit, it's just a never-ending source of cringe for me.
So we got a super chat here from Aramic LVT. Hope you're both doing well. With the success of Hi-Fi Rush, when's the last time a game you knew nothing about came out and was a wonderful experience to play? Have a great weekend, fellas. Well, I mean, when you say that, it implies that basically it was shadowdropped because, you know, most of the time you know about things that are launching. Or I guess you could say a game that you really had no idea about that and then just came out. But I don't know. I can't really think of last time something shadowdropped. Or a game I played that I didn't know something about beforehand, right? I honestly can't think of anything. I mean, there are games I played just based off a trailer, not reading any reviews. Like, I played... One of the games I've actually played on my Switch was Gris, and I only played that because I saw a trailer and thought it would be interesting, and I played it and I loved it. But I mean, you know, I knew something of it because I watched the trailer. So it's most of the time, I think when I play a game... It's not like I'm going in... I mean, even Hi-Fi Rush, we saw what it looked like. We saw the trailer, and we played it. So I don't really think there's another example like Hi-Fi Rush where it was like this level of polish in a game, this good of a game, literally came out of nowhere and came out that same day. This is a very unique situation.
Apex Legends did this, didn't they? Didn't it?
That is true. I guess Apex Legends would be as one as well, yes.
I mean, for me, there are games like this for me where I just... haven't been aware of it. I think I've told the story before of how I discovered Final Fantasy VII. You know, like I was like a little kid and I'd done well in my exams or something. So my mom just went out and bought me a random game from a shop. And the store clerk had recommended Men in Black for PlayStation 1, which was horrible. I couldn't figure out how to exit the first area, or it was bugged or something. But I couldn't get out the first area because I couldn't figure out how to climb over this thing or something, and I was just like, man. And my mom was like, why aren't you playing it? I was like, I don't know, the game's great, but it doesn't work or something. I can't remember what I said. So my mom was like, okay, I'll take it back. So she took it back to the shop and said, can you recommend something else? And the store clerk went from recommending Men in Black to recommending Final Fantasy VII. So clearly he's just recommending random ass shit. I don't know. And I played Final Fantasy VII. I was like, I had no idea what it was, and I was just completely blown away. Changed my view of gaming forever. I was like, gaming's just a fun little toy or whatever. And then I was like, oh my God, actually, gaming is the best thing in the whole damn universe. So it's kind of like Final Fantasy VII was a de facto shadow drop for me. But it does beg the question whether Microsoft should do this more often.
I think they should.
Because I tweeted like, and got like 5,000 likes when I looked at it, that like, because they shadow dropped this game, there was no sort of room for negativity to build up about it. If they had announced this game in a trailer, everyone would have been like, oh God, it looks like a Lego game. Look at those cartoony graphics, blah, 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 blah. And there would have been like a load of negativity. Journalists would have seen that negativity and they'd be like, oh, this game's going to flop, so we'll not cover it, whatever. And they'll sort of like keep the negativity train going. Everyone else would be like, this game's an L, this game's mid, let's just completely ignore it. But because they shadow dropped it right into Game Pass, everyone was able to just go and check it out for themselves. Blank slate. There was no oxygen in the room for negativity. They just literally just dropped it out there, and people were just able to go and try it for themselves. and lo and behold, as a result, they really enjoyed it. You know, I kind of feel like if a lot of games had a traditional marketing cycle like Among Us, and maybe even Apex Legends,
let's use a traditional marketing cycle because we actually have a comparison. Just this week, you have Forspoken with a traditional marketing cycle, a Sony marketing cycle, and you have you have Hi-Fi Rush, right? Forspoken is a game revealed in 2020 at one of the PlayStation showcases, had a really amazing trailer. You know, the trailer, said design, from the ground up for the PlayStation 5, right? And then you see more trailers and more trailers. The game gets delayed constantly. Then negativity starts to come in. People look at the changes from the initial trailer versus the newer trailer. There's like, man, it looks like it's sort of been downgraded. There's a demo that comes out and people can play it. And then a lot more negativity exists because people don't like the demo and people talk about the resolution and all that stuff, right? So you have basically 2 years of hype for Forspoken, right? And people constantly nitpicking it over that course of time, hype building up for it because it's a PlayStation exclusive, because any exclusive for any console is more hyped than a multi-plat. That's kind of been the way it's always been, right? So then Forspoken comes out, and boom, the reviews come out, and it's not good. High 60s. People are talking about the dialogue. People are talking about the 720p. People are talking about how it's not really a good game, or maybe there is a good game buried there, right? But you went through a normal, typical marketing cycle, and that's what you ended up with. Whereas, this game comes out of nowhere. Sure, Jeff Grubb had leaked the game, right? He had said that a game from Tango would be revealed at the game at this developer direct. All we knew was the title because it sort of leaked, and we knew it was Hi-Fi Rush. We knew it was Tango Gameworks. Grubb had said that it was a smaller level, like Pentiment level. There was some leaked artwork, which obviously wasn't true. Must have been from something completely different, and it steals the show at the direct because of the stylish look of it, right? It's just oozing color and personality in ways that most games don't have. And then you're like, oh my God, look, it's like a Devil May Cry action game, right? And boom, the bigger surprise, it's available for you to play. So you don't need to wait for reviews. You don't got to go through the cycle of reveal trailer, a year later, months later, boom, story trailer, etc., where then you start building it up in your head. And I know Xbox fans have had it rough recently because there hasn't been a big game since Halo. So if Microsoft had revealed this game 2 years ago or a year ago, people would be putting all their hopes and dreams on Hi-Fi Rush as the game that was going to be really good, and what's the Metacritic score going to be. And people would be, on the other side, people would be like, oh, that, how could you get excited for that? It looks kiddie. All that sort of negativity that can permeate through gamer discourse, and I'm using gamer discourse as in quotes on Twitter, right? Because Twitter's awful. And instead of all that, we're releasing it today. So everyone's super excited, and Game Pass plays a huge role into it because it's you're shadow dropping it, but it's not like you're asking consumers to be like, you know what, where am I going to find $60 or $70 to pull out of a hat? This wasn't something I was expecting, so I don't really have the extra cash, right? This really only works because of Game Pass, because millions of people suddenly have access to it on Xbox and on PC, and then can play it on Steam if they want as well. So immediately, right? I really think the Shadow Drop only works because of Game Pass, because of the virality of millions of people suddenly playing something, combined with how incredibly polished. That's one of the first things I noticed, outside of how really gorgeous it looks, is that it is incredibly polished, right? It's one of these games. I don't know. Maybe sometimes you get a little bit with the way games are with live services and all this stuff, and how people are patched. Games aren't always like extremely polished like this is, like the cutscenes, the animations, the idle animations, like the move sets, the humor, like the way characters talk, right? So you have the virality of Game Pass and millions of people playing it. You have the fact that it's actually really good. And now it starts a conversation on Twitter. Now everybody's talking about it on Twitter, talking about Hi-Fi Rush, saying like how amazing it is, right? It rises up to Steam bestseller list to like the second most best-sell game on Steam. The reviews, personal reviews on Metacritic are basically like a 9.2 because there aren't any real reviews. It's just people who are playing it. And it's just this wave that has happened because you allow millions of people to play something. Instead of, if this was a $60 game, some people would be like, do I really want to spend the money on this? I'm not really sure. There are no reviews, and I don't have that in the budget for this. But Game Pass changes all that. And I think it really works hand in hand, and it makes it possible to blow this game up to another level. Because if you think about it, like, let's even look at it from another perspective, right? All last year, ever since the delay of Redfall and Starfield, Microsoft was basically shit on for not having anything, right? 2022 was a bad year from them. We understand that. But they were sitting on this game. They were sitting on this game that is awesome, right? They didn't show up to the Game Awards. And everybody was like, including yourself, Jez, were like, what are they doing? You just didn't show anything at a conference that had 100 million people watching. And they were sitting on this game. They could have potentially gotten rid of a lot of the narratives that they had if they had shown this game at E3 last year, or even at the Game Awards this past December, where they could have showed this trailer and they could have had the release date, and people like, damn, I didn't even know that game existed, and I can play it in a month. But they were quiet. They still sat on it because they probably had a plan of shadow dropping it at some point, right? And I feel like the shadow drop was the right marketing decision for this game. And maybe, I mean, you can make the argument that why wouldn't you want to show this game in front of 100 million people at the Game Awards? Maybe it got people more excited for what Xbox is doing early in the year. Maybe it helps them sell consoles. I don't really know about that. But it definitely would have really excited people. And instead, you take all that negativity, right? That just kind of compounds because they were quiet. That compounds because, 343's on fire and all the layoffs. And then, boom, you got this surprise, and for the most part, it seems like everybody's really happy with the direct. I don't know. Am I making sense here with my take on this, or what? Or
no,
am I just rambling?
Just waxing lyrical, baby. I just it's completely accurate. The shadow drop sucked all the negativity, the possible negativity, out of the room, and there were the usual culprits, the fanboys being negative on social media. But because of that, there was the positivity just completely drowned all that stuff out.
Indeed.
And I think in a traditional marketing cycle, you would have had influencers and stuff seeing that and being like, oh, to feed into the algorithm, we need to continue this sort of this snowball of negativity, because people who feel positively about it, they don't get into the algorithm as easily as negativity does. Like, negativity just gets in there more easily, especially in the early stages. Like, people being positive, like, there would have been people being positive about Hi-Fi Rush if they had presented it at the Game Awards, but that would have been drowned out by the algorithm's preference for negativity, right? I think the algorithm only rewards positivity if it's everyone being positive, Yeah. And it's a sad state of affairs that negativity is just prioritized. That's just the way it is. So, I think this was absolutely the right choice for this game, and I think they'll do it again. They'll look at this and they'll be like, "This works.
Yeah, well,
this situation works."
It's a great way to get data, right? Now you can see, right here, we just released this trailer. The game's out, and now you can actually look at the data points and be like, all right, how many people are downloading this and playing this? Do we get a lot of new subscribers? Maybe this is the best way to debut what I would call AA+, right? Because I really think the idea of people labeling this a small game is doing a disservice to the devs and the game itself, because this isn't a small game. I'm like on track
11 hours.
I'm like on track 5, and the love of like the humor, like the animation, like the combat, and I understand, like, okay, maybe if you play through the first level you're impressed, but it's like a tutorial. But like constantly they're adding stuff new. Like the second level, they add the grapple hook, so it makes combat a little bit more easier because you don't got to walk to enemies. You can just easily grapple hook them and get to your combos a little bit faster, right? Then they add the character assists, so you have other characters that you can call in with right trigger, right? You have a character, a Peppermint with guns, and she'll destroy shields. So and you can call them in pretty often. So not only will she destroy shields, but she'll actually help destroy enemies. So you can juggle an enemy up in the air, and as you're falling down, call her, and she'll keep the enemy up in the air so you can go back up there, right? And then you even get a second character that does a different character assist. Then they introduce parrying. So they're constantly adding something, or adding a new ability every single level. And man, that first boss fight was incredible. Like sitting there fighting that boss, listening to the Nine Inch Nails music. The boss fights have just been so outstanding. The transitions from fully 3D into 2D animation back to like gameplay are phenomenal. I mean, the only real thing that I can kind of say about it is like, I don't really think the exploration is amazing. Like I think it could be, and I have a problem fighting on beat, right? Like the game doesn't really penalize you for not being on beat like Metal Hellsinger did, right? Because this is like a Devil May Cry action game. There's so many combos, but it's set to the beat. And in the beginning, I was a little frustrated that I couldn't do the attacks on the beat. And then I just really stopped caring about it. And your attacks will always still land. You just won't get extra damage, and your score won't be as high. So, like, I'm pulling out mostly Bs on the chorus for each of the, like, fights, mostly because I'm only averaging, like, a 50% or 60%, timing thing. So I usually get, like, a D or a C. So, like,
I suck at the timing.
Timing, but I've actually gotten better from the first level to the fourth level. I've actually gotten better with the timing because it's starting to come a little bit more easily to me. But you don't need to play the game. The game doesn't penalize you for not playing on the beat. I've heard that. I know it can be a little frustrating because you don't see the score going up and you get, like a B or a C or whatever, but it's still playable. And I recommend everybody to try it out. Especially if you love action games. There's actually a lot of really good comedy in here. There's a lot of secrets to find. The levels are just super cool. Like they're big, they're vibrant, they're all pulsating to the beat. And this was a game you didn't even know about. Like, sure, a month ago you had heard the name Hi-Fi Rush from Tango Gameworks, but like you didn't know what it was. I think we had mentioned that, the rumor was that it was a rhythm-based brawler with the art style of Jet Set Radio Future, which it is, but you don't really know what that is until you see it. And then you saw it, and it was like, that's incredible. And then you play it, and it's fantastic, and it's incredibly polished, and you think to yourselves, man, what else can Tango Gameworks do?
Even within 3.
Well, yeah, I mean, so they did Ghostwire Tokyo. Now you have this game, right? And obviously Shinji Mikami's probably got something, so whatever he's going to be working on. But this sort of changed everything around it. I'll talk a little bit more about it when we actually get into the Direct, because I think whoever placed it in the Direct was brilliant. But I'm loving this game. Like I don't know what I'd rate it just yet because I have to finish it. But like I played it for 6 hours. I'm on chapter 5, and I think there's like 12 levels. So this isn't some small game. It doesn't really a disservice for everything they're achieving here. And but yeah, I mean, kudos to, I think Bethesda was their choice to shadow drop it, and I think Phil said Game Pass makes it easy, and I think Game Pass makes the whole virality of the situation work, where everybody's literally talking about it, and nobody's really talking about Forspoken, right? A game that was highly marketed for 2 years, basically overtaken by a game that came out of nowhere, right? Hazador in the chat says, by the way, Rand Phil said in an interview, shadow dropping Hi-Fi was the Bethesda team decision. Maybe that's why it was not the Game Awards. Well, yeah, my point was that like if they Xbox is hearing all this negativity and they're sitting on this gem, obviously for a reason. And Bethesda is like, we decided we're going to do the shadow drop, which was the right choice in this case, So Fuzzy says this is what Sunset Overdrive could have been last gen if not for the TV negativity, right? And I think one of the reasons why people think this is a small game is because it's not open world. Like if you're not an open world game in this day and age, then you're small. Even though apparently I think like Forspoken can be beaten in like 7 to 10 hours, which is almost the same length as Hi-Fi Rush, of course, if you don't do side quests. But then sometimes you find a lot of the open world nonsense just time wasters, so you can have more time. So either way, I'm loving Hi-Fi Rush. It was I can't really say it just completely blew me away. But let's see, let's get more of these super chats. So that would be the Hi-Fi Rush goes viral segment, Jez, I guess. We have here, let's see, Jojo gave us a super chat without any message. Thank you. Jay Rembert says, Fox News sucks. How in the hell is it woke to save money? I don't know, bro. Everything's woke is wrong. Everything's woke to them, I guess. Joshua Candler Jones says, hey, Rand and Jez, can we get a UK Labour Party endorsement from Jez, seeing as though we're talking politics on the show? Hashtag general election now. I have no idea what that means.
I mean, they're the least bad option.
Oh, so what? Douche in a shit sandwich from South Park, basically?
Yeah, kind of. It's hard to get enthusiastic about the Labour Party, but it's like at least they're not the Tories. Okay. They're all shit at the end of the day. But yeah, I don't know if I'd give them an endorsement, but I will give an anti-endorsement to the Tory party. How about that?
Right. Brendan C. gave us the super chat, but no message. Thank you. Jake says, good afternoon, gentlemen. I hope you guys are enjoying Dead Space Remake as much as I am. Rand, will you be on the Spawncast tomorrow night? Love you guys. I've yet to play the Dead Space Remake. I'll be playing it probably tonight, maybe, although I want to finish Hi-Fi Rush first. Maybe I'll do like a couple levels of Hi-Fi and then go play Dead Space and then a couple levels of Hi-Fi. I don't think I'll be on Spawncast. John hasn't DM'd me to ask me to be on, so probably not. I would imagine if he wanted me on, he would have already asked me, but he's got a big panel and, they'll do great. Hopefully they like the show and they're liking Hi-Fi Rush and interested in seeing what they think about it. Achievement says Chai has earned his spot on the Xbox Smash Bros. Clone roster. Yeah, Jez, didn't you say that Chai in 808 is now the Xbox mascot character, the new Xbox mascot?
Yeah, 808. 808 it's like become like really popular. I think my tweet saying that they're the new mascot, that also got like 5,000 likes or something. And they've really got something special here. And I think it's also like tapping into that sort of anime culture, and that kind of thing. Because anime is hot right now, and this is like a lot of Western companies try to tap into anime. Like Overwatch does it, League of Legends does it to some degree, but there's nothing quite like the real thing, So this is like authentic Japanese anime, and it's I think it's gonna work really well for them. Yeah. I think they've got something really special here. Like the Twitter account Hi-Fi Rush is already popping off with the memes and really getting into it. So
if they do a sequel, do you shadow drop the sequel just like the first one? Or do you play it differently with the sequel because now everybody likes the IP?
Yeah, I suppose you probably go more traditional with the sequel. Get everyone hyped up. People know what to expect now, and it'll have an established fan base. There'll be no negativity like there was before, and presumably the sequel will be like bigger in scale, bigger in budget than this version. I would assume at least. So so there's all that going for it. We'll just have to wait and see what they do.
Because I was thinking, I think I mentioned before when we were talking about Microsoft should do more of this. Maybe it would benefit them to do it for their smaller games or what they would consider smaller, like AA+. Like in my mind, the first thing that came to to my head was the rumored Coalition new IP project, the smaller quote unquote game that they were supposedly working on before they put out Gear 6, right? My thought was immediately when this happened, I'm like, oh, could you imagine if at E3 or at another developer direct, it was just like, boom, here's the Coalition's new game. Oh, by the way, play it now. Now, I know, okay, there's expectations, right? Aaron tried to set him up here, but Aaron also loves, his whole like MO is basically underpromise and overdeliver, right? Sure, there weren't any Game Pass announcements. They did them later on, and it was strictly just like, we're going to hear from the game developers. But there was that one surprise from a game that nobody knew about in shadow dropping. So I know you shouldn't expect that every time because it would just be unrealistic. But the first thing I had in my mind was like, Coalition's an incredible developer, right? I can't wait for Gear 6. There is the rumored project that they're working on that is smaller in scope. What if just one day, instead of just releasing a trailer at E3 and then a year later the game coming out, what if you just do a developer direct when you're talking about the games and then boom, the Coalition's new game's just available to play. And then you have the same sort of virality going on with their game that went on with this game. You know, that was just something I was thinking of.
I think one of the cool things they could do, developer direct, is to always have a kind of a surprise, you know, even if it's not on the scale of shadow dropping the whole game. Because like you said, I don't think that's realistic. It's probably unsustainable. You know, you got to expect a shadow drop every single time they do a developer direct. But maybe they could announce a big Game Pass edition. Maybe they could announce this. Maybe they could announce that. And because there's no set schedule for a direct, like Nintendo doesn't commit to a direct every month or a direct every quarter even, they can just make it they could just make it like
use your words.
Sorry, I was just banning someone. They could just make it they could make it ready when they do have surprises, when they do have that content, when they do have that surprise in the back pocket to make the show something they can underpromise and overdeliver on. Because I think that's how you underpromise and overdeliver. That's how you make things exciting. Is sort of creating this expectation that there will be something cool there. You know, even if the game isn't for me. You know, I'm not really into Forza very much. Although I will say, Forza Motorsport looks very, very good. Even me as a non-racing fan was like, man, this is the game that gets me into racing. You know, because increasingly as I get older, my habits evolve, and I kind of like these games where you can just log on and do stuff without having to think too much about it. You know, you don't have to follow a story. You don't have to, you know, remember where you were, what quest you were doing, and all that kind of stuff. Because that's one of the issues I have with completing games. It's like coming back to them after a while and being like, oh man, what the hell was I doing? I can't even remember. You know, which is why I really appreciate The Witcher 3, because every time you play The Witcher, it's like, by the way, this is what most recently happened in the story. Kind of jogs your memory a bit, right? But not every game has that. Not every game can do that. But whatever, it's another topic entirely. But in any case, yeah, I think developer direct as a format is just, they kind of nailed it, even without having the marquee content, because we all kind of had this sort of not low expectation, but it was kind of like low-ish, I would say. It's like we all kind of accepted that Starfield wouldn't be there. It was kind of like, well, this is a littler show. Don't have too high expectations, you know, sort of. It's not an E3 level event and whatever. And it wasn't an E3, but it was still exciting, and they still generated excitement. They still sort of turned a corner on what had been a fairly negative news cycle for Xbox up to that point, you know, with the layoffs and the rumors of 343 being in complete turmoil, which I guess we'll be talking about as well.
Well, do you want to just talk about the developer direct then, since we're here?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Make sure you guys hit the like button. I thought we had 570 likes, over 1,400 people watching. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's talk about this developer direct. So I don't know your thoughts about this, because we didn't really talk about what you thought about the Developer Direct, but I can sort of glean from it from your statements on Twitter. I'll go first, though, okay?
Go on.
So, I'll talk about the presentation. I thought the presentation was A+. I loved the style of this direct showcase, whatever you want to. I think this is the style they need to move towards if they're doing other. Like, do not get rid of this. Like, keep this. Maybe refine it if you have to. I know there was like kind of like that behind the scenes. It was kind of like professional, but also laid back, right? Because you would see the camera full on, right? But then they would have like the camera off to the right, shooting at the angle where you could see the teleprompter and you could see the lights and you could see the other main camera and like the people working. So it got this thing was like, we're professional. We're in this setting with everybody making the games that you're going to love in the future, but we're also laid back. Right? Like, because you can see this other camera over here. So they kind of had that. I thought it working for them. I thought the developers on screen were on screen just enough. Wasn't too long. It wasn't too short. They would say what they wanted to say. And you could feel the joy. You could feel how proud of they were talking about their game. And then they would show gameplay and somebody would be talking over it. Honestly, the presentation... Well, I guess I'll say I was worried going into this because there really wasn't, outside of Redfall and maybe Forza Motorsport, I really wasn't interested in all about Minecraft Legends or ESO. And it was 45 minutes long. So my worry was, bro, am I going to be bored for 20 minutes of this thing? Because every time they've showed off or talked about ESO, essentially during... like E3, I just completely just fall asleep. You know, Pete Hines is out there. He talks about ESO. He talks about Fallout 76 2 years in a row now. It's like the lowest point of E3. Like, I understand why they're there because they make money. They're popular. People play them. But for me, it's just like that's when I kind of, catch some Z's, right? But the way they presented this, not only was I interested in learning more about Minecraft Legends and seeing it being played, but I actually thought the ESO segment was quite good. Like, I would never play ESO, but I could, like, that was, like, they really packed a lot of info and made it appealing in that, like, short 6 minutes or whatever 5 minutes that they talked. So,
yeah, I think that's the same, like what I was saying about Forza a minute ago. It's like, I'm not really a racing guy, but something about the presentation made me interested in Forza. Like, I was interested in it almost for other people. Like, what are other people going to be thinking about this who are into racing games? But then I was like, man, I might actually try this. And I feel the same way about ESO as you, because I'm a big Warcraft guy, and I can't help but compare every MMO to Warcraft. And Elder Scrolls just doesn't have the same kind of tight combat as Warcraft, which is one reason I haven't been able to get into it. But even that segment had me thinking, man, should I give ESO another go? Should I give it another chance? Kind of thing. So, yeah. But continue.
Well, yeah. So the presentation worked wonders for me. Hopefully they use it in the future because I think they have something here, right? It's like Nintendo does their Direct and it works for them. Sony has their State of Plays and it works for them. This is clearly something in that format, but it's definitely has that Microsoft vibe where it's not really too much cribbing on the other ones. It's like short and here's just the developers and their games. It works. And I was worried that it wouldn't work. And once again, can I get a hallelujah in chat for no influencers, no hosts, no people in chairs with M&Ms on a little table asking questions, cringy questions that were written for them. Like, that is not needed. And especially watching this, it is absolutely not needed. Just all you need is the devs just introducing their games, and you're good to go. I know Paris is probably listening to this. I love you, Paris. You can still host FanFest and maybe Gamescom and maybe like the second show at E3, but the developer direct is for the developers.
You're giving him permission.
Yeah, I'm giving Paris permission. You know, that's how much power I have. I'm giving Paris permission.
Oh man, it's really funny. Like Rand like gaslit us earlier by saying he's not an insider, and now Rand's gaslighting us again by claiming he's not an influencer. You run a podcast with 8,000 monthly active users. kind of an influencer yourself, Rand.
I know Paris is here. I know Paris listens. That's why he says that. And look, Paris just put ... I feel seen. You know.
Yeah, well.
Oh, look, Miles Dumper's in the chat as well.
Oh, yeah. Have you told Miles about his name?
No, I haven't told. By the way, Miles, someone super chatted earlier and called you Miles Dumper. So from now on, you're no longer Miles Dampier of IGN. You're just Miles Dumper, bro. Yeah.
Oh, Miles.
But anyways, so the direct presentation, awesome. And then I guess we get into the individual stuff. Minecraft Legends, coming April 18th, was the first game they showed. And it looks somewhat interesting. I'm a little bit more... I kind of wasn't... like before, when they had showed stuff, I was like, I'm not going to play this game. And when I've seen more of it now, I was like, well, this could be a good game to play in co-op where my friend builds something and I go do something else. I'm not exactly the biggest fan of the Minecraft stuff, so it's not like really high on my radar, but they did pick a good date because it's coming out in the middle of April 18th, and there's like nothing else, literally nothing else coming out in April until the end of April for Dead Island 2. So it actually has a great release date. So that presentation made me interested in trying out Minecraft Legends. So it did something that I thought was impossible because I just wasn't interested in it before, you know?
Yeah, one of the cool things I thought, I've always been interested in Minecraft Legends because I do really enjoy strategy games. I like tower defense games, and I like Minecraft. And this feels like the perfect intersection of sort of light strategy with a bit of tower defense, making a base, defending it. I thought it looked really cool. But the thing that really impressed me, as someone who saw Minecraft Legends at Gamescom last year, was the graphics have improved a lot since last summer. Like, it looks a lot more vibrant now. It looks a lot more defined now. It's still got that Minecraft feel, but it just pops a little more. So it's really nice to see that game coming on, and I think I'm going to be playing that a lot when it launches. But again, it's another one of them. I don't have to listen to a story. Don't have to learn any side quests. I can just log on, slap some towers down, and don't have to complete the game. My ADHD riddled brain that's my kind of game. But
indeed. Yeah. And before this disappears, shout out to Kristen Hudson for becoming the newest member of the channel. Very, very much appreciated. So April 18th, I think that's a pretty good date. You had kind of said March, so I guess you were wrong on that one. But you're not that far off, I guess. And
what did I say?
You said you said you thought March, but it's good.
Was that a prediction?
Well, that wasn't a prediction. You just kind of like felt it was March.
Oh yeah, that was not a leak. That was
right.
Just...
That's definitely not a leak. But then we get into Forza Motorsport, which here's another thing that I don't like about these streams is the image quality, right?
Oh yeah,
they're like 1080p 60. They don't do these games justice. Like, I rewatched it in 4K on my OLED, and holy shit! Like, Forza Motor, like, you're talking about Unreal Valley, or what they call it, Unreal Valley, or
Uncanny Valley.
Uncanny Valley, about like the cars in that game, like when they viewed in that yellow car with the dirt, because they're talking about dirt, and they basically the whole Forza Motorsport presentation, I felt was the weakest of all of them, because they really leaned into just how amazing looking this game's going to be, right? At the very end, they talked about like, and there's going to be a single player mode, which I was thinking like, there is? Well, couldn't you show me some of that? Right? Because what we ended up getting, and maybe this is exactly what the Forza Motorsport people want, and I'm not a motorsport guy, was like they talked about it being the most technically advanced racing game ever. They said they have over 500 real world cars at launch. That they'll have over 800 unique upgrades and custom modifications, and it will have 20 environments featuring multiple track layouts, including 5 all new to Motorsport, which including the first one in South Africa, right? So they went into like how it's going to look and all this stuff and the love of racing and all these sort of things. So like, as someone who really doesn't care too much about like that aspect of Motorsport, I was like, okay, I'll play it when it comes out. But then when he mentioned single player, I was like, now you got my attention. Show me more of that, right? What's the single player campaign you're talking about? But obviously we're going to get that later because, well, it sounds like the game's delayed because they said was coming 2023. Where at E3 last year they said spring 2023. Now it's just coming 2023. And I think Jeff Grubb said last night in his podcast that sounds like it might be Q3, which makes sense. Clearly, I think the game's been delayed. And I might catch a little flack for this. But I don't really think Forza Motorsport should have been there then. Like, if Forza was going to be delayed, I don't think it should have been in this developer direct. Let me explain.
Oh, go on then.
Because everything else they showed had a date. You had Minecraft April 18th. You had Hi-Fi Rush today. You had ESO on June 20th. You had Redfall on May 2nd. It's sort of lost the whole thing they were going for about games you'll be playing in a few months. Because in a few months, to me, I think 3, 4, 5, and that's June. Clearly, game's not coming before June. I don't know when it's coming, but it's certainly after that. So it sort of like breaks up the whole, like, here's the game and here's the release dates, which they have for all the other ones except for this one. Now, I understand you probably needed to include it because it's coming soon, and you couldn't really do a direct without Forza because then you'd be able to advertise Minecraft Legends, Redfall, and ESO because you wanted to shadow drop the other game. So I get from that perspective you needed Forza because it's part of your lineup coming later this year. It is a big title, but I sort of felt it ruined the thing they were going for about everything having a date and launching within the next few months. So that's my hot take. Is because of that, Forza shouldn't have been there.
You're wrong.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I thought you were gonna swear at me then. Yeah, but no. I think you're wrong. I think if Forza was not there, it would have cast a big shadow over the whole thing. Probably,
and you're 100% probably right. So it probably had to go there. I'm just more talking about like, hey, all these other things had dates. Forza didn't, so it really didn't fit in the pattern. But if it wasn't there, people would have been like, oh my God, why isn't there something wrong with Forza? I get why it was there. It just sort of ruined the thing that I thought they were going for, right? Because then it's like...
Did you mention Jeff Grubb saying that he heard that it might have slipped out of...
Yes, I did mention that it looks like it's coming in Q3, which, I mean, is apparent to any... Like, they said spring last year, and now they just say coming 2023. So if they had a date, it would have been at the show. I know there's a lot of people out there that say there's some sort of Morse code or hidden message because it said coming soon, right? And there was like a 6, and so people were saying like, oh, it's like 6/20/23, right? Or said coming 2023. So people thought the G in coming looked like a 6. So they were like, oh, they're telling us wink, 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 that the game's actually coming 6/20/23. So June 20th, 2023, right? And people were like, oh my God, this is like Microsoft's it's like an ARG or whatever. And people are running with it as like some secret message that Microsoft is doing. But if you actually look at other things within the font they used, that's this. Even though it looks like a 6, that is a G, right? If you go look at the times on the announcement, it was like 3 p.m. EST, 8 p.m. like GMT. The G looks like a 6 in GMT, right? Or when they used like kicking off 2023 and the G in kicking looks like a 6. So it's not a 6, right? There's no secret message of it coming 6/20/23. That is just the G. It just looks that way because of the font they used. So I've seen lots of people talk about that, and I just wanted to put that out there. It's definitely just the font.
Are you ruining people's hopes and dreams, Rand?
No, I'm not. I don't think I'm ruining anybody's hopes and dreams. I like to be more realistic. I like to keep more people on the realistic end of stuff. You know, I'm the opposite of basically Pong Soul's March Starfield cabal, right?
So is this whole Forza thing, is this part of the Starfield cabal?
I don't know the start of the Starfield cabal, but
that a separate cabal? The Forza cabal?
It could be. It could be.
Are they competing?
They might be competing. But I could, but here's where the genius of what happened next comes in, right?
Okay.
Because now you don't have a date for Forza, right? Ooh. And now it looks like you've broken your promise that they said the game would come out. So now I'm expecting people to get angry. What do you mean Turn 10's delaying the game? What's going on at Xbox, right? All that stuff. But immediately they went into Hi-Fi Rush, right? Now, normally you would think, oh, we have one more surprise for you. That Hi-Fi Rush being the shadow drop, and the surprise would be at the end after Redfall. Be like, oh, but we're not finished. Here's Hi-Fi Rush, right? But they did it after Forza Motorsport, because I think they knew Forza Motorsport, without having a date, was going to get the most negative reactions. And as soon as people could basically internalize that, oh, wait, does that mean Forza's getting a delay? It didn't matter anymore, because now here's this brand new game. Here's this incredible looking rhythm-based platform, rhythm-based hack and slash game from Tango Gameworks. And now your eyes are glued to the screen because this is something you didn't even know existed. And this is something that looks fantastic. You've completely put Forza Motorsport out of your mind. You've completely forgotten that Forza Motorsport has most likely been delayed to September or, August, right? Now, your attention's fully on Hi-Fi Rush. And you're like getting excited. Be like, damn, this game looks great. When's it coming out? And then they're like, hey, it's out today. So it's like, oh, it's out today? Xbox has a game? And it looks this cool? I'm going to go download it immediately. And then you start downloading it. You start playing it. You're super excited. You're super happy because it's quote-unquote a banger. And you've completely forgotten really about Forza Motorsport and the delay. So it's sort of blunted that negative aspect that could have festered. I think it was brilliant to put it after that instead of putting it at the end of the show where you probably typically would want it to be as like a surprise. So I think whoever put that together, kudos to you. I don't know. Do you agree with me on that one, Jez, or no?
I do, yeah. I think it was a kind of a masterclass in PR, and it showed an elegance and attention to detail that Microsoft sometimes seems to lack. I don't know if they've got like a new team there or whatever, or I know they've hired some new blood. Didn't they hire someone from IGN to help them with this? But it does seem like they've been a little better at managing expectations, and then when there's bad news, kind of figuring out a way of glossing over it, kind of in a way. So yeah, I agree with you that it was really well done, and I just hope they sort of continue. Especially, I mean, at the end of the day, the only reason they're able to do this is because of content. None of this works without content.
Yeah.
If they didn't have Hi-Fi Rush, it wouldn't have worked. If they didn't have, if they didn't have gameplay footage of Forza that looked good, and even though you said that they shouldn't have been there at all with it if they didn't have a launch date, I disagree, because not everyone is as impatient as you, Rand. I myself am an extremely patient boy, and I can wait for games.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course you can wait for games because you never finish any.
Exactly. But anyway, I'm a patient boy, and I can wait, so I don't mind if a game's delayed. But if the game hadn't shown up there at all with no gameplay, I would have been like, "Oh, is there issues with the game now?" I would have thought, "Oh, that's a bit spooky. That's a bit spooky." But instead, they show gameplay that looks ravishingly good, and to your point that it kind of looked hideous in the stream, but it looked good after the fact, right? God rest Mixer's soul.
Poor Mixer.
Mixer with its 4K low latency technology, which is now just literally sitting in Microsoft's vault somewhere. They should just sell it to YouTube, man. They should just be like, okay, look, YouTube, you suck at streaming. We'll give you our Mixer technology just to help you out a bit. Maybe they should just do that. I don't know. But yeah, I digress. I think it was just a great show all around.
Some people in chat are saying that the Forza showcase yesterday said it's coming in October. I didn't hear that. Did you?
I didn't see that.
I didn't see that either. Michael says, why are people not knowing Forza said October? It's second half, not like first promised. And then, yeah, Michael says Forza's showcase said October. I mean, I talked to Colt, who watched it and made a video about it. He definitely didn't say anything about them saying it was October.
Yeah,
I think it's one of those things where I don't think they know when it's coming, because you would imagine you would want to rip the Band-Aid off and let people know it's delayed, right?
There's nothing in the news about it coming in October.
Yeah, I don't think that happened. Uramal says I don't think so, and that's a no. Yeah, thanks, because I'm sure it would be all over if they said October, but you can also make the argument is like, well, if they know Forza's delayed, why not just tell people it's delayed and rip the Band-Aid off? Because it's only going to fester that, the longer you go on, it's like people are going to be like, okay, where is it? And then it's probably one of those things where they don't know exactly just it's probably one of those things when they announce the delay, they'll also announce the new release date. So they probably don't have the new release date locked in yet. So they're not going to delay it or officially delay it until they do. That would be my speculation about that. So then we had the whole Hi-Fi Rush stuff. We've talked about that at length about how, it basically stole the show. It's a viral sensation. The shadow drop was perfect for this game, won't be perfect for every game, and how it is so cool. Xbox has a new mascot. I want to see more from this team. I want to see Hi-Fi Rush 2. And, it's so cool that something that was unknown just comes out at this high level of quality and just takes people by surprise. And because of that, like a lot of people really look fondly after this showcase. Because I can understand why some people really, if you weren't interested in Minecraft or Forza or Redfall, it's like, well, there's nothing here for me. I didn't really care for it. But adding Hi-Fi Rush, it kind of reminded me of like a game PlayStation would have made during the PS2 era, like when they still had their Japanese studios making stuff, like that style of game. When PlayStation was still very diverse in their offerings, instead of like every game sort of being very similar now. But that's just the way business is at this point. It's just not something it's also not something you expect from Xbox, right? And that goes to say, hey, you let the creators create, right? I know there's always a lot of gnashing of the teeth about Xbox letting their creators do passion projects or whatever. But then you end up with games like Grounded, which became pretty popular. Or you end up with Pentiment, another game that maybe didn't set the world on fire, sales-wise or Game Pass subscriber-wise, but was very highly rated, and people that played it loved it. And now you have this unknown game coming out of nowhere that hopefully turns into a franchise. So then you start thinking about like the other teams that have other projects like this, and it's like, okay, well, if this is what you can get from letting people just create and do the things they love to do, then let's do it. Let's have more of this, right?
It does make me wonder, like, if the sales figures on games like Dead Space and Hi-Fi Rush really slap, maybe all these companies that are trend chasing, like Ubisoft with its 12 battle royales.
Not only that, but did you see Tom Henderson's report that there's not only a Far Cry 7 in production, but also a standalone Far Cry multiplayer game?
Wow.
Does that make you excited? I mean, oh my God, obviously there's a Far Cry 7 coming, but man, they better change that up. They better do something to that, because I just can't anymore with Far Cry. And I used to love Far Cry 3, 4, and 5. I loved it. And then with 6, I just got burnt out on it hard. And I love Far Cry so much. So, Hi-Fi Rush, and then we had the ESO segment about their new DLC or their new expansion called Necrom. What Jez, can you explain any of that stuff?
I don't know much about the lore with regards to that, but I think you're going after a new Daedric Prince or whatever, and the Daedric Princes are kind of like a faction of evil demonic dudes, kind of like the Cthulhu allegory or whatever, and hell allegory. You played Oblivion, right?
Yeah,
you go into Oblivion. Oblivion is basically hell.
Yes.
It's like hell crossed with, Lovecraft kind of. And I don't know a great deal about the lore, but they're adding Arcanist, new class, which is like they've got a load of expansions, but they haven't added many new classes, which is kind of interesting considering like Warcraft adds mountains of new classes. Like almost every other expansion, there's a new class. But yeah, they're doing all that kind of stuff, and looks pretty good, But again, it's one of them. It's like I barely have time for any game, and it's like, can I get into this now? But fans seem excited about it, and people who are fans of it really swear by the game. And one thing I thought was cool during the ESO presentation, they gave their fans a shout out. And the guy was saying the ESO fan base is the best in the world. Of course, they're going to say that about their fan base, but like to showcase the fans and the fan events, I thought it was a really nice touch. Hoping Microsoft does a little bit more of that as well. It's kind of like it sort of interweaves and intersects and amplifies the direct to audience approach that they've taken with this. Kind of sucks for journalists because we're being gradually shut out by press, PR, and AI taking. They took our jobs, but I think it's better for the products. I think it's better for gamers, and I think it's ultimately better for Microsoft at the end of the day. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all that goes down.
Right, and then they ended with Redfall, which they have the release date May 2nd, which we talked about I think like a while back. Although it doesn't look like there's early access, Jez, because they also put out the pre-order trailer for the game. And the Bite Back edition gives you a hero pass for two more heroes that'll come in the future, plus some like outfits, weapons, and more. But they didn't mention anything about early access, so I wonder if they scrapped that or if they just aren't announcing it yet.
In the documentation I got for early access, it says
if it's ready, right?
If possible or something like that.
So maybe it's
there's
not
like
possible.
a caveat attached to it, but the document did say May 2nd.
So what did you think about Redfall? Because I am seeing a lot of split opinions on it, and I want to know what you think.
I'm one of those people who have got split opinion on it, to be honest.
So, but in the good camp or the bad camp? Or that it looks really cool or it looks kind of slow and clunky and the guns don't have impact?
I'm not... yeah, I'm kind of in that camp right now. I'm like, the mobs look a little bit, I don't know, bullet spongy, They don't seem to react to the weapon fire very well. It's not a very gory game. I like shooters I like my guns to feel like they've got impact, And after playing games like Doom, it's, which are just, splatter houses and Dead Space even, it's kind of hard to go back. And I'm kind of, I think, what's it called? Deathloop. It's almost left a sour taste in my mouth. Because I really felt like Deathloop's combat, like, it had some cool aspects to it. Like, it was fun, like, kicking dudes off buildings and stuff. But there was something up with the gunplay, and I can't even put my finger on it. I really have to sit down and think about it. But there was something about the gunplay that kind of like left me wanting, like the interaction between the mob and the guns weren't that interesting for me, and I kind of worry that Redfall is going to fall into the same trap. And I think, like, as well, the comparisons to Far Cry kind of, again, leave a sour taste because I'm so sick to death of Far Cry. Although I do think Arcane could do a better Far Cry than Ubisoft these days, with a world that's more believable, unique, and interesting, with the environmental storytelling they do and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, I'm kind of like, I'm really sick of this genre, the sort of go here, do this, arbitrarily grinding or whatever. I don't think the powers look that interesting either. I think I kind of like, for me, and I'm only speaking for myself, and I don't want to jump on a Redfall negativity train or whatever. But just for me, I kind of like, I kind of want my vampirism to be a bit more grounded or whatever. My vampire games to be a bit more grounded. And this is totally me and my prejudice. It's not going to mean the game isn't fun or anything. But I don't like this sort of sci-fi powers they got going on either. That kind of I mean, I kind of feel like you've got enough sci-fi and fantasy by virtue of having vampires. I'd rather have something a little bit more grounded. And there's dudes out here with like magical umbrellas and all kinds of shit. And I know arcane games have always kind of had that sort of intersection of technology and magic. You know, even from all the way back in Dishonored, they kind of had that. So like, they're still staying true to arcane games. The whole idea of like arcane, you know, and alchemy and that kind of intersection of technology and magic. This is what they're kind of known for. So again, it's my prejudice. I'm just kind of worried that it's not going to be a game for me. Maybe I'll play it and have a completely different opinion, you know. But when I think of vampires, I kind of think of like Interview with the Vampire. I think of Blade, you know. I think of Vampire, you know, from Don't Nod. Like, I actually really like that game. Like, for all its jank or whatever, they nailed the atmosphere and the style. I thought that was really, really cool. But this is just kind of looks... I'm just worried it's not for me. But, you know, what are your thoughts on it? You know, maybe you got a different opinion.
I mean, I've been down for this game since day one. Arcane doesn't miss, bro, and I don't think they'll miss with this. You know, they showed off more of... I think maybe part of it is, like, maybe it didn't show it off as well as they could have. And honestly, one of my other critiques of the show and how it was presented is I felt whoever was talking over the gameplay in this, which I think was Harvey Smith, I don't think he sounded excited. It felt like he was more just going over the motions, just kind of like talking about what the game is. And that's maybe one of the dangers you have when you put cameras in front of developers who aren't used to talking to people, is they don't, you know, they don't maybe use the right energy levels to go over something. So I sort of felt the way he was explaining stuff over the video kind of fell flat. And like Arcane games are all about choice. How do you want to tackle objective? And normally there's so many different ways you can do it. And I know they didn't have a lot of time, but they started off as like, oh, well, here's this one, how you're going to do it, but we're going to do it this way, where, you know, the guy cloaked and he killed somebody and moved on. But they didn't show like potential other paths you could have done to reach the similar objective, which been like, oh, okay, I see, that's where the arcaniness comes in. So you have that, and when people are, so you don't see the different ways, right? Gull says Harvey Smith always talks like that. It's no big deal, and you know that's probably true. I'm just saying, as someone who doesn't know and just watching it, it didn't really seem too enthused. So I mean, it's just my opinion. I mean, I think Redfall looks great, but I think like the critique of like how slow it looked, like the character movement, I think it was more like how they wanted to film it because they knew they were using the footage. And it's not like you want to run through something. You want to, like, you know how developers do, they kind of move slowly so they can take in all the cool vistas and things that the developers have put in the game, right? Where like most players are just running past that, not even like sparing a second glance just to get to the objective or whatever, right? And then like, yeah, the gun thing I thought was interesting because they talked about how like id came in and helped a little bit. And I did think it, like, I guess the critique you could make about Deathloop was that the weapons really didn't have any punch. And watching this, I did feel like the shotgun had a lot of punch. Although, like, the shotgun and the rifle they were using were just bog standard, at least until the end where they showed off at least some unique weapons. Like, it was just like a bog standard black military rifle, bog standard black shotgun, right? And maybe for some people it's just like, oh, well, I'm in these sort of games I'm used to kind of crazy weapons like in Far Cry or in Destiny, where it's like, that doesn't really look cool. You know, they went into some of the customizations later about like the little spears, the little tips you can put onto the weapons to stab the vampires, and some of the cool looking ones that you could use, which is like, okay, you at least have that. But in the beginning it was kind of like, oh, that doesn't really look anything special. But no, I'm feeling like the trees all look like there's a lot of different abilities, a lot of different paths you can go through. Looks like there's a lot of different things you can do on the map, you know, outside of just, you know, following the main story, which I'm sure a lot of people will do. But this kind of is a lot of how Arcane is like sometimes their games are just, you don't know how to really market their games, and it's not until you really get your hands on it that you can fully appreciate what they've made. It's kind of been a running theme with them forever, right?
Yeah, that is true. That's true.
And I think like this showing sort of really kind of put to bed some of the Back 4 Blood stuff or the Left 4 Dead things, because it clearly didn't really look anything like that. It looked more Borderlands-ish, more Far Cry-ish than Back 4 Blood. So I think this is one of those things where people need to get their hands on. I don't know. Maybe it's also a game they should do a beta for, but I don't know if they're going to do any of that. But dude, it's Arcane. I'm there day one. It doesn't matter. Day zero. Hopefully, I get a early code for review that I can talk about it. But I'm excited. And overall, like the Xbox Developer Direct, I give it a B+. It honestly would be an A, and one of the best shows in years if Forza had a date. I think that's the only real downside of the show, was that Forza was getting pushed. But Hi-Fi Rush sort of kind of saved everything to a certain degree and kind of put the negativity aside about Forza being delayed. And with Redfall, with me liking what I saw with Redfall and at least somewhat being interested in Minecraft Legends in the format, I give it a B+, almost an A. I was really impressed by it, and I hope they do more like this. Because then I'm thinking in my mind, like, oh man, imagine when they do a developer direct and it's like, here's Hellblade 2 stuff, here's Avowed stuff, and then like, oh, here's Indiana Jones stuff, right? Because I know for this one, the first one, it's like, I know there was a lack of interest in Elder Scrolls Online and Minecraft Legends. And I'm thinking in the future when they actually show off the games most people have an interest in. The bigger games that Xbox is putting out. So, yeah, I'm really impressed with what they did. What do you think? What will be your grade?
B-.
B-. Okay, so I'm a little bit higher than you. All right.
I say B- because I do think there must have been a way to give Redfall a better showing. I don't know what it is. I don't know what content they had. But I feel like I've said this before. Arcane kind of makes these difficult to market kind of games, and there must be a way to have shown it better than they did, I think.
Okay, but
maybe that's a me thing. Maybe that's my prejudice. I gotta give my opinion, and people in chat be like, "Oh, Jez is Debbie Downer." Like, it's just my opinion. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not gonna fake enthusiasm. I'm not going to do it. I refuse to be fake. I full blown refuse to be fake. I refuse to fake interest or enthusiasm and sugarcoat my opinion. I refuse to do it. So on that basis, I give it a B- because I think, maybe there would have been a way to make this a little bit better. But wait and see. I'll get my hands on the game and then maybe I'll feel differently about it. That's kind of where I'm at right now with that.
Trey says, so it's now just okay to show gameplay and trailers if the game has a date. Rand, how is Forza being shown great while running a negative just because of not having a release date? Well, because it's my opinion and not yours. I felt like the show would have been an A if all those games had a date. And Forza didn't. So it's a B+. It's just my opinion. You can have your own. You can say that it was an A. You could say it was an F. I'm not going to argue with you. That's how you feel about it. Let's do a chat. Let's do a poll in chat. I want to see how people feel about this. What would you give the developer direct? What grade? Let me see. Put this in there. What grade would you give the developer direct? And then we'll have A, we'll have B, we'll have C, and we'll have D. So you guys can put in your opinion, put it in chat, what you thought about the show, what you would rate it, and or you can vote in this poll. So, if you don't agree with me, that's perfectly fine. You don't agree with Jez, that's great. If you do, awesome. Have your own opinion about stuff. I'm just telling you how I felt about it. Ranting Greek Gamer says the best thing about the show was the presentation, way better than the state of play stuff. So, and EL Blas says, thanks for 0% feigning interest, Jez. It's appreciated. Yeah, don't feign interest, Jez. He definitely doesn't.
I mean, I am.
He definitely doesn't feign any interest in beating games. That's for sure. I'm gonna run this joke into the ground.
Yeah, you do that. I mean, I am interested in the game purely on the basis that Prey is literally one of my favorite games of all time. You know, so it's not like I don't like their games, and Dishonored 1 as well. One of my favorite games of all time, and I did finish Prey. Thank you very much, Rand.
Cliff wants to know: are we rating the format or content? Everything, both the format and the content. It's like how you felt about the show. What would you give the show? Not just the format, not just about the content, but the whole thing. Let's go ahead, Jez.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I am interested in Redfall. What I've seen of it so far looks like it might be a game that I won't finish. I'll just play it for a bit and then drop it like Far Cry.
But you don't. That doesn't mean anything because you don't finish anything, and I love you.
Yeah, but there's a difference. There are games that I intend to finish and games that I do not.
Yeah, but you saying I'm not going to finish something is just standard, so that doesn't mean anything. Me saying I'm not going to finish anything means something because I always finish it.
You're an achievement whore, though.
I'm not an achievement whore.
You're
I used to be. I just like beating
whore.
Games. I'm not someone who just starts a game, plays it for 2 hours, and then moves on to the next.
You literally cried about Goldeneye for the past year, right? You cried nonstop about. But
that had nothing to do about gamer score or achievements.
Yeah, no. And then earlier, someone was like, "Oh, it's an easy 1,000 games."
I was kidding.
And then your ears. No, you weren't.
Yes, I was. I am not playing Goldeneye.
Like a cat. Like a cat who heard a carton of milk opening in the kitchen. Your ears perked up, and you're like, "Ooh, 1,000 game score. I'll get in on that." Because you're a little simp for gamer score.
Bro, you know? If I was a simp for gamer score, I'd be averaging 60,000 gamer score a month. I couldn't be bothered.
Nah, you're a simp for gamer score, bro.
No, I'm not. Okay, I'm a simp for gamer score. Jez is a simp for not finishing games, I guess.
I finished good games.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right. So I guess, all right, fair enough. But they also said...
On a long enough timeline, like I said, it took me 10 years to finish Dark Souls. I will finish all the games that I intend to finish eventually. But I'm just scared that I won't even intend to finish this game, so I guess we'll wait and see.
We also have Microsoft in their Newswire blog saying, looking ahead, they say, as we announced previously, in order to dedicate the proper amount of time for a deep dive into Bethesda game studio Starfield, standalone show is in the works. In addition to this, our teams are working hard and look forward to sharing even more of what is next for our fans when we return to Los Angeles for our yearly showcase this summer. So, that would be your E3 showcase. Although they didn't say E3, so are they going to be kind of more with Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest, or they didn't say like E3 summer thing. Is there something going on with them in the ESA? I know E3 is coming back, but either way, they'll have a show. We just don't know when. Sometime this year. Let me ask you this question though: does the Starfield standalone show come before or after E3? Their E3 showcase, their summer showcase.
Way before.
Oh, so you think the Starfield dedicated show comes before E3?
Yeah, they wouldn't have announced it this early.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll get a Starfield Developer Direct way before then. I think in the spring, maybe March. I mean, yeah, we'll get a Starfield Direct.
Rambling Guy says, Phil said in E3 in his interview with IGN that they're setting up to align with the ESA, which I guess that's also a good jumping off point. Well, let me actually get to the super chats because I want to, people support the channel and I want to shout them out because we do have a lot that have been building up. So we have on the bright side with super chat says, is the best ARG for a Starfield March release and a Forza June release the chance that Microsoft's biggest game, Call of Duty, releases in the fall with 2 big Game Pass titles, Stalker 2 and Lies of P? Microsoft won't cannibalize Starfield and Forza or vice versa.
Yeah, I mean that's one consideration that's an underrated consideration that Microsoft has to think about other games. Because they're the platform holder, they don't want to tread on toes, and if whether or not they do have Call of Duty as their property, when push comes to shove, they're not going to want to overlap. I don't think personally, because there will be overlap. Like Starfield would hurt Call of Duty, I think, and vice versa. Call of Duty will hurt Starfield. So I wouldn't. I don't think there's a scenario where I think there's. Ideally speaking, Microsoft gets the game out way ahead of Call of Duty, I would say.
Okay.
But then again, like, isn't this the year where Call of Duty's skipping?
Well, no. Well, yes, but there's supposed to be a Call of Duty release this fall that is like an expansion to Modern Warfare 2 or something.
Well, if there is a year where you do overlap with Call of Duty, it would probably be this year if they're just doing an expansion. If it's not like a full-blown game, the DLC ain't gonna shift the needle like a retail copy. So if there is 1 year where they overlap them, it's probably this year. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Danny Passion Official says people would be comparing it to God of War. Daswell Gordon says, would love for Shinji Mikami to make a wild anime-like shooter like he did for Vanquish, a.k.a. the best shooter of Gen 7. Man, Vanquish was so good. It's a shame we never got a Vanquish 2. I remember the rumors that there was a Vanquish 2 coming, but that didn't pan out. Good old Collingwood.
Yeah, they own the license for that.
Do they own Vanquish? I think that's Sega. I think Sega owns. I would imagine.
Yeah.
It's a Sega IP.
I just knew it wasn't Bethesda.
Yeah. Good old Collingwood says another thing that Hi-Fi Rush and also what Pentiment showed is that Xbox is releasing games that just work right out of the gate. Very true. Kristen Hudson gave us like a thinking emoji or something. Flame says, Rand, why do you hate M&Ms? They're good, bro. Stop. Bro, I love M&Ms, man.
M&Ms are woke, man.
I mean, I guess they're woke now too, but I love M&Ms.
Put them out of your mouth. Those are woke M&Ms. That was another thing that was woke this week, was M&Ms.
Yeah, everything is, isn't it?
They got rid of what did they get rid of? The spokes candies.
I don't know. You know what's woke? Xbox 2 is woke. I don't even know what that means.
Who said that?
I don't know. I did, because it doesn't mean anything anymore. Highlander.
We can't be woke around because we're gonna play Hogwarts Legacy. So. We're cancelled by both sides.
Any new information on World of Warcraft in China? Sucks for the players. Not going to lie, like the fact there are fewer gold farmers. Yeah, do you have any more information about? Keep it short and simple because we don't want to talk about World of Warcraft here.
Man, this is actually quite interesting drama though, Rand, because World of Warcraft shut down in China because Blizzard and NetEase had a massive falling out. The NetEase CEO went on LinkedIn and said something like, It's crazy how one jerk can ruin a good thing or something. Now, who do you think the one jerk is? Do you think it's Bobby Kotick?
Probably.
Mike Ibarra?
No, I don't think it'll be Mike Ibarra, no.
Well, anyway, the NetEase and Blizzard have unceremoniously split up. And not only that, but the NetEase staff were smashing up Blizzard property in NetEase's HQ. They ripped up an orc statue. And they were selling drinks in their cafeteria that mocked Blizzard, which was just so unprofessional and so petty. But whatever, it's NetEase, right? And as a result of that, there'll be people in China as passionate as me of World of Warcraft, and they've been banned from the game. They've completely lost access to the game. Blizzard said like, "Yep, you're gonna lose all your shit." I think they added some export tool that people could maybe one day access if they find another partner to distribute World of Warcraft. Because in China, you can't sell a game in China without having a Chinese company backing it, right? Because China wants to censor everything, they want to control everything. So in order for Blizzard to publish in China, they needed to partner up with NetEase. And for whatever reason, they've broken up with NetEase now. Not like NetEase are also blamed with the predatory nature of Diablo Immortal, which is a gambling microtransaction hellscape, and awful for the Blizzard brand. That was truly horrible, and so that's the whole drama with World of Warcraft. And not only that, but Overwatch, pretty much every Blizzard game, except for Diablo Immortal, which I think is still operating in China because of their different contract for that one. But yeah, that's gotta hurt Blizzard's monthly active user base to the tune of millions of people, which begs the question: that is going to further devalue Activision for Microsoft. because one of the reasons they wanted Activision was, they get access to the Chinese market essentially, because Xbox is nowhere in China, but Blizzard had quite a fan base in China, and now that's gone. That's gone by the wayside. So it's another sort of it's another aspect of the deal which I think is underrated. But
right.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
So we have Eric, who says, which of Xbox's game studios do you expect to see something new from at this year's summer showcase or at E3? Something new? I mean, it's tough because we don't know if Microsoft's going to pull the old 12-month thing again. So that would put a limit on stuff they could show. I mean, they had Hi-Fi Rush in their pocket, which they could have showed this past year, and they decided not to. So you never know if they'll try that again in the future. But like, one of the things I'm looking at is Compulsion. I think it's probably about time that game gets revealed. Whatever they're working on, they've been working on it for a while. Do you think In Exile's game gets revealed? Their steampunk RPG or whatever they're working on?
I noticed In Exile was teasing it on Twitter. They wrote a Chat GPT review for their upcoming RPG, which is funny. It was almost kind of like, hey guys, we still exist. It's like they're itching to be itching to be at this show, I think. But yeah, we don't know how far along that is. I mean, when did Wasteland 3 come out?
2020, I think.
2019, something like that.
I think it was 2020. I could be wrong, but
so yeah, 3 years working on this steampunk Victorian era inspired RPG per my information there. I can leak shit too, man. But yeah. Maybe it's this year, maybe it's next year. I would expect they reveal it this year, maybe at E3, and then launch it next year, maybe. Yeah. That's what I would expect.
Yeah, there's also like, what else? Coalition.
Exile's the crazy studio that Microsoft has, I think.
Coalition. I mean, there's still some other like Xbox Global Publishing titles, right? Like Project Dragon, Project Belfry, right? Like that haven't been revealed yet. That could come out. Or for this year, so there's a few, and then you got Bethesda, like ZeniMax Online. They've been working for 4 years on this new AAA IP that they've mentioned. Is now the time to reveal what it is? It's they put out Doom Eternal in 2020. Are they going to be ready this year to show something new? Right. So I mean, there's other things. I guess it just depends on what format they want to choose, and I hope they don't go with the 12-month thing again. I think that's kind of played out. I think they sort of ruined it by, not
nailing it.
Not nailing it. And it's just like, okay, well, who knows when Starfield's coming out, but you could not nail it with 2 of the games that you said would be there. So it's kind of like you sort of failed in that regard. So it's like no point in doing it for a second time unless you want to be like, these are the games you're playing in the next 18 months, right? Like, so you give yourself all of 2024. So I would imagine they'd probably go back to, what they've always done. And last year's E3 would have been a blip, essentially. We have one here from Travis O'Leary who says, thanks for the show and good times. Indeed. Thank you for being here. Thank everyone for being here so much. If you guys are enjoying the podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button. Let's take a look at this poll, Jez. It's been running for 14 minutes, and we have 544 votes. Looks like B is the winner with 50% or 49%. A has 41%. C has 8%. And D has 1%. Now, I guess you could say this poll would be biased because I would imagine if you're watching this podcast, you're most likely an Xbox fan to some degree. Probably not like a huge PlayStation fan who hates Xbox because there are those around. So it seems that most people really enjoyed it. But
I like that there for a minute.
Yeah. Did you?
I don't know. Maybe you did. I don't know.
Well, I think, aren't you hosting this in the Discord? Because I had to restart my computer.
Oh, crap. Yeah, maybe. Oh, maybe that's why I sounded weird for people. I don't know.
You want me to drop out and then come back in?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's only a split second.
All right. So, yeah, Summer Showcase. Can't wait for that. Starfield. Jez thinks it's coming before. I sort of agree with that. I just don't know when. So, looking forward to those announcements. We also have a Phil Spencer interview that dropped literally right before we went live. So, I haven't read this. Maybe I'll make a video about this tomorrow because I need to get back on the video train. Also make a video about some of the stuff from the showcase as well. So, Phil said that they asked about the IGN asked about the shadow drop, and Phil said, yeah, the shadow drop. It seems like it worked really well this time. It's not a thing we've done a ton of. This was an idea from the team. They'd been playing the game, felt good about their launch date and some of the early signals on quality, and said, hey, it would just be fun. It would be fun to be able to launch this during the Developer Direct and say, play it now. So we rolled with that. We're always learning, always listening, and it seems like the community is responding well, which I think is a good signal.
That's true.
Then he talked a little bit about Tango Gameworks. He says, so when I look at Tango Gameworks, just watching it as it evolved over the last couple of years, I'm really happy with where it came out. They were able to get some good licensed tracks in the game. He's talking more about Hi-Fi Rush. Here you go. IGN asks, how much pressure was Xbox under to establish positive momentum for 2023 coming off 2022 where there weren't a lot of releases? Oh, asking the tough questions, not a softball question. Basically saying, Phil, where the game's at, bro? I mean, that's essentially what that question is it not?
Yeah.
And
what did Phil say?
Phil said, I think it's a little different internally because we obviously know that we have a developer direct. We know what content we're building. We know already what we're going to be doing in June in our showcase. But our commitment to our fans is that we need to have a steady release of great games that people can play on our platform. And we didn't do enough of that in 2022. There's no doubt. And fundamentally, that's on me. I'm the head of the business. The commitment we have to our customers to continue to deliver great games is something that I take seriously. The teams take seriously. And 2022 was too light on games. So we're excited about getting to roll into 2023, have the developer direct. I felt really good about the games that we're showing. And then also knowing that Starfield is a game that we'd be able to highlight in its own show. And then to just start off 2023 with good momentum. And like you said, I think we needed that. So what else he said? You're releasing Redfall this year, releasing Starfield this year. Forza's coming out somewhat later in the year. It feels like go time. It feels like this is the moment for Xbox. Phil says, I hesitate to get ahead of the launches just because I know there's some, and rightfully, some particular community about us saying, quote, hey, just wait until. Phil knows the memes, guys. Phil knows the wait for memes. Hey, guys, just wait for E3. Wait for Gamescom. Wait for next year. He literally referenced it here. So he goes on. So that was one of the reasons why it was nice to be able to launch Hi-Fi Rush during the show to show that we can launch. And I look at things like Pentiment, we came out in November, as a really high-quality game, but there has to be more. So when I look at Minecraft Legends, at Redfall, I look at the work we're doing on Forza Motorsport, Elder Scrolls, I think it's important for us to show games and to show dates. I know there were some questions on the date on Forza Motorsport because we just revealed the year. Everybody should know just the quality that Turn 10 puts into Motorsport, if you look historically, is going to be there in this game. That's the thing that, first and foremost, is most important. And we will come out with the date, no doubt, when we're a little bit closer. But we just wanted to reaffirm people that this is a 2023 game.
Yeah, I mean, they've dropped the first half of 2023 thing, right?
Yeah, no more spring.
That's pretty definitive. I mean, they can't get away from the fact they said all the games announced will be in the next 12 months. And we're pretty much at a point now where they're openly admitting that it's not a first half of 2023 game, in my point of view. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'd rather have a polished game than a not polished game, personally.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
No, I'd have the same too, you know? I'd much rather have a game that is super polished than one that isn't, that has a bunch of glitches and stuff, so a bunch of bugs that needs another patch or whatever.
I was actually thinking of writing an article recently, like to the tune of, you should never, ever, ever buy a game at full price anymore, because increasingly so, and it's becoming a rarity that a game actually lives up to its price point at launch. So many games now launch like unfinished, patch later, with a price drop. So it's like, why would you buy a game at launch, right? When they're basically they've taken the time to fix them later, and then by the time they fix them up, they also get a price drop as well. It's like, why? Why would you ever buy a game at launch anymore? I don't know. Something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Yeah. Well, they also talk about Game Pass and 12% reduction in services and content spending, which is the Xbox financial thing, which you wrote an article about, right?
That was my colleague Zachary Bodie who wrote that.
Right. Yeah. Which was within their projections, but it's like, does it look great when you're declining in your third holiday? Normally hardware doesn't decline like that. Did you overestimate the demand of the Series S? Because that was the console that was available, and it was $240 on sale, and it seemed like it didn't set the world on fire like maybe they thought. I think maybe they underestimated the demand of the Series X. I think the reason there isn't a lot of Series X units is because I think they're basically going through the process of basically like shrinking it from 7 nanometers to 6 to basically cut the production cost of it. And I mean, let's be honest, they didn't have any big games. I think it would be a little bit different if Starfield had come out. All they had is Pentiment. So, and you're comparing quarter to quarter. You're comparing one quarter with Pentiment to a quarter that had Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon 5, and Age 4, and more stock, it looked like. Yeah, it's not a good comparison at all. And it's just odd. But they asked him about that as well, about Game Pass. And he says that basically they're in uncharted territory with Game Pass because you can't just go out there to look at other examples to help gauge how fast you should grow. But he says we're at an all-time high for paid subscribers, and Game Pass, it continues to grow. I'm happy with the growth. We set high internal targets, and people see sometimes we miss those targets. Sometimes we hit them, but I always be ambitious about what we're trying to do. He says about the quarter numbers that you're talking about with software and services, one of the and he mentions the year-over-year comparison about how they had Halo, Forza, and Age. So, yeah. He also talks about ABK. Yay, ABK. We get to talk about ABK.
It's Rand's favorite.
Yeah, favorite thing in the world. He says that given a year ago, for me, I didn't know anything about the process of doing an acquisition like this. The fact that I have more insight, more knowledge about what it means to work with the different regulatory bodies, I'm more confident now than I was a year ago, simply based on information I have and discussions that we've been having. When we announced a year ago, we talked about an 18-month time frame. Really? Because I remember certain people out there saying it was going to close by September of last year. You remember that, Jez? Remember how people were like, no. It's going to close by September. It's going to close by October. It's going to close by December. I remember those. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Pepperidge Farm.
Phil says, we're 12 months into that. I think we continue to stay focused on getting the deal closed. I think we can do some amazing things with the teams of Activision, Blizzard, King on the mobile side. Blah, 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 blah. So my confidence remains high. And I believe the European Commission put out their statements of objections, but they're classified. Only given to people that essentially need to know. And this comes on the heels, this Phil Spencer interview asking about ABK, on the fact that our friend, Flying Jim Ryan, took another trip with his PlayStation jet to go have secret meetings with the head of the European Commission to try to once again convince them you need to block this deal because we just can't survive without Call of Duty. Microsoft could take it away from us. Microsoft could degrade it and make their version better. Please block this deal, Jim Ryan said.
Yeah.
So there's all that. Then Microsoft, subpoenaed PlayStation recently to try to get more information about their production schedules to see if they're like really... What was it? Like they subpoenaed them to...
I can't remember exactly what it was. It wasn't.
Oh, so yeah, Xbox wants Sony to divulge information it believes is relevant to its case, which may include confidential details that Sony would be reluctant to share with its rival if possible. Negotiations between SIE and Microsoft as to the scope of SIE's production and the discovery schedule are ongoing, the filing reads.
I think like some people took that to mean that Microsoft wants to know what their product slate is. I don't think that's what it meant.
Okay.
But still, it's still shit that they wouldn't want to share. Put it that way.
Yeah, and then the other thing that came out was the FTC sued to stop the European Commission from accepting a settlement. So they sued early to basically set an example to the European Commission about how they shouldn't accept a settlement from X. How do you feel about that, Jez?
I think the FTC should go fuck itself.
Oh, damn, that's harsh language.
Yeah, I think they're little bitches.
Ooh.
I think they're being little activists and crying, and they're trying to hurt innovation. They're trying to hurt consumers because they are so addicted. They are drunk on ideology. They're drunk on it. They love it. They're rubbing their little nipples, being like, "Ooh, yeah, we're gonna stick it to the man, stick it to big tech," and they love it. And they've waited for years to be in a position to screw over big tech, and they're loving it. They're loving every minute of it, and all the negativity that'll come as a result of this, all the bad things that'll come as a result of this, the disruption that'll come as a result of this. They don't care if ABK goes out of business down the line because of it. They don't care if these companies like that increasingly relying on cloud services can no longer be profitable because they expect every publisher now to have their own cloud to be able to compete in the nascent cloud gaming market. I think they're scum. I think they're dumb as hell.
Scum?
And yeah, they're scum.
Wow, you're heated right now, bro.
I'm here, bro.
Wait till Reset Eric gets a hold of this and clips this. They're gonna talk about you once again.
About it, bitches. I don't give a fuck, man. They are scum, and I think like the way they're trying to strong arm the European Union is just laughable and manipulative and scummy. And it's a joke. It's just corruption, It's maybe not monetary corruption, but it's ideological corruption. The fact that they think like their morals are so much more important than consumers, misguided as hell. It is awful. And the worst thing is, they're gonna undermine future efforts in things that actually do matter. Like the competition in the broadband market, for God's sake. And other markets where there is a genuine need for regulation. AI, for God's sake. Where are there guidelines and regulations for AI? Like OpenAI and ChatGPT, wholesale theft of copyrighted material, wholesale theft of artists' work. Where's their statement on that? Where's their looking to OpenAI? Nowhere to be seen, because that's complicated. That would take some hard work, and that would take some research. That would take some actual learning. Here they've got an easy, simple thing that they can use as a bludgeon to weaponize attacking big tech. And it's not just Microsoft they're going after. They're going after Google. I saw like was it the Justice Department is looking at forcing Google to break up its ads monopoly. Which again is kind of like, it's almost like a be careful what you wish for kind of thing, because this is the kind of scenario where you'll end up with layoffs, you'll end up with people out of work, you'll end up with all kind a shitstorm, disruption where you don't really want disruption right now. The economy is really, really fragile, and Google and the government just thinks like, oh, it's fine, we'll break up these companies, and the companies that splinter off from big tech, they'll just be completely fine. It's like, yeah. Are you sure about that? Are you sure they'll be fine? Do you really want to destroy the search market? Do you really want to destroy consolidation of the ad market? I mean, it's a nice thought. It's a nice fairy tale thought to sort of force other companies to build their own VR platforms, because they blocked Meta from acquiring a small company. It's a nice thought to have a vibrant and thriving VR ecosystem, but in reality, it just doesn't work that way. It requires a big company with the resources to actually create something, on that sort of global scale that it needs to compete with the likes of China, who are like, rampant with consolidation and sort of, pushing things out into the world without these kind of competition concerns, because concerns, quote unquote, it's just kind of super irritating. Really bugs me. And I said before, it's not about ABK itself. I don't really care. I've already sort of resigned myself to the idea that I'm never getting StarCraft 3. It is what it is. Whatever. If I get it, great. If I don't, then I've accepted that fate now. And I'm also at a point where I'm kind of like, well, ABK is doing really well without Microsoft. So before it was kind of like, man, I really want Microsoft to be running ABK so they have a little bit more freedom. You know, if they don't have to pay for their own cloud, if they don't have to, worry so much about retail sales and investor needs, sucking money out of the business, maybe they'll end up with better games. But even like Warcraft's doing really well right now. Diablo 4 looks like it's going to be an absolute banger. And, under the leadership changes they've already made, it seems like they're doing pretty well by themselves. So it's not even a case of me being like, oh, I really want Microsoft to have ABK because, like, I want my Warcraft to be under Xbox or Microsoft or whatever. It's beyond that. It's just the pure hypocrisy, the just general shithousery that the American FTC is under this current administration is laughable. As a tech enthusiast, and I'm not a fan of Google. I'm not a fan of Meta. I'm not. But I feel like the regulations they're trying to impose on some of these big tech companies is going to harm innovation. It's not going to enhance it. It's going to harm innovation. You're not going to get a little startup making a VR headset in his bedroom. This is the delusion that they have, is that these little VR companies will be able to compete with Facebook. It's like, bro, what are you smoking? What are you smoking? It's like they think like a little company could build a cloud platform that could rival Microsoft. Even Google couldn't do it. Google couldn't build a cloud gaming platform to rival Microsoft. What are they smoking? What are they doing? They're harming innovation. They're harming the entire sector of tech. They're harming tech workers. They're harming developers. They're harming creators. They're harming consumers. Like, everything they're doing is bad. So yeah.
Jeez.
That's my take. And take it to the bank.
All right.
Bro.
One last thing from the Phil Spencer interview. He was asked about Halo and 343. And he responded by saying, I'm going to let 343 talk about the plans they have right now, that people know they have the next season that's coming up, and they're excited about that. They've got some other things, some rumored, some announced, that they'll be working on. I would imagine some rumored thing is the Battle Royale, right? They're excited about the plan forward. I look at, say, the work they have done on Forge and the amazing support we've had from creators there. The timeline for Halo is always going to be one of those things in my mind that is part of Xbox lore, part of the foundation of what Xbox is about. I expect that we'll be continuing to support and grow Halo for as long as the Xbox is a platform for people to play. So I think the timeline goes on and on in line with the Xbox, and I want to make sure the team's set up to succeed with that. So, what does that mean?
How do you feel like that as a Halo fan? Do you think it was vague and non-committal?
It was kind of vague. That was one thing I was going to say. That seems like a vague-ish answer, I mean, he also says earlier in here about at the same time when we launched the game, we knew we needed to make some commitments to people about the content updates and our timing on those and the quality, and we didn't hit our own bar for doing that. I believe in the team that's there, Pierre and the leadership team and the plan they have. Obviously, Pierre's a studio head now. He's been on Halo for a long time. He worked on Master Chief Collection. He's done some great work. The team has a very good plan. What we're doing now is we want to make sure that the leadership team is set up with the flexibility to build the plan that they need to go build. And Halo will remain critically important to what Xbox is doing, and 343 is critically important to the success of Halo. Yeah, so because Halo made that tweet, right, Jez? They put out that tweet, I think Saturday after the podcast, where they literally just said, Halo and Master Chief are here to stay. 343 Industries will continue to develop Halo now and in the future, including epic stories, multiplayer, and more of what makes Halo great. That was a statement from Pierre, the studio head. Basically summed it up, because there were a lot of rumors going around that IGN had reported in other places that there was people telling them, sources, that 343 was just going to become a production house. They weren't even really going to make Halo anymore. They were just going to a publisher house, rather, not a production house, and that they were just going to
clearly BS.
What?
Clearly BS. That they were going to become a production house.
Even IGN said, according to their own source, that's what they're hearing.
I don't believe it.
So
there's some extrapolation going on because they have gutted the campaign team. They've absolutely gutted the campaign team right now, but that doesn't mean they're not going to build their own games. I think like there's going to be a lot of heavy lifting put on third parties like Certain Affinity maybe, but I also think possibly the reason it was gutted is because the next game probably won't be open world. It's probably not going to be like this hugely complicated sort of open world with intersecting systems and stuff. And they've kind of got the sandbox down now. If indeed they aren't pivoting to Unreal Engine, which is, the whole rumor, which I still can't lock down, which is crazy. I think I increasingly think it might be true because even people who've left 343 won't talk about it, which to me suggests there might be a third-party NDA, maybe with Epic Games or something, which prohibits talking about it. I don't know, just crazy assumption from me. But increasingly, I think like the reason that they've shrunk the team is because they're going to make a more traditional Halo that's more linear. Maybe you don't need such a big team for it, and maybe they've got the tech established they want to use. Maybe they're just going to use slip space again. And they're just like, well, okay, let's just make a smaller game, take things back to basics, and make a tried and tested true Halo game again. I don't know, but I honestly don't know if that's a good idea. If it was me, and Rand, you'll probably be really mad about this. I think they should just reboot the whole damn thing. Remake Halo 1 Combat Evolved from scratch. Make it more mature.
All right.
Darker. Lean into the Halo lore.
Okay.
Make it more brutal. Grow with the audience. I feel like the audience has grown and evolved beyond the sort of what Halo is today. I think there's a huge opportunity with Halo for it to be a darker, more mature kind of game. And maybe a lot of Halo fans would be really upset about that. But something needs to change. I don't think that what they've been doing over and over again ain't working. It ain't working. It's not working.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I wouldn't be against the idea of rebooting Halo and making it darker, because I do agree with you that the audience has grown up, and I think they're trying to go after the young audience, but I don't think young people care about Halo. So you sort of need to, like, grow up with your fan base. So
I don't know where they go from here. They've completely screwed up this saga. They were taking it in Halo 5. They had the whole Cortana thing with the huge Guardian and stuff. They threw all that away and sort of they doubled down on the sort of side story that emerged out of Halo Wars 2 with Atriox, which had its strong points, but it's like it's nowhere near as grand as what they were trying to do with Halo 5. It's almost like they pulled back on it. I think like Halo Combat Evolved, Halo 1 was a much darker Halo than what it is now. Much darker. Like the whole like the stuff with the flood and Keys like enveloped by that flood form thing. And the Master Chief like punching his skull to kill him. Like it's just a completely different Halo. Like for when people in chat are like mad that I said no, Halo shouldn't be darker. I'm talking about go back to when it was dark, because right now it's a Lego game. It's a kiddie game, man. It's a kiddie shooter now. It's not Halo used to be dark. Now it isn't. So I'm not talking about making the evil within. I'm talking about go back to what Halo used to be.
Okay.
Or whatever. Bring the flood back.
The
game sucked. So the game has sucked since they took the flood out. That's the truth.
The
truth no one wants to accept.
The Prometheans weren't really a great enemy to fight, but another topic we have here. Gears rumor shut down. Jez, did you? I think you tweeted about this. We talked about the Gears collection in Gear 6. Our buddy Special Nick on the Xbox Era podcast showed a image that said confidential across the middle and had a logo for Gears collection, the Gears Ultimate collection, and Gear 6. And websites ran with it. And I believe Guy Welsh responded to it and called it fake news.
Oof.
But that could be just talking about the logos being real, because they clearly weren't real to me. I mean, I don't think that image was real. I mean, and you can sort of say that's fake news without saying, because I mean, there is a Gear 6, so like you can't, you know what I mean? It's kind of reminds me of, remember when Aaron Greenberg, when people discovered the Fable Twitter account, and I think the Perfect Dark one, and Aaron was like, ain't Fable, what are you talking about? That's fake news. And then it turned out that was the actual Fable Twitter account. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of is the same here, where it's like, yeah, that's probably not the logos, and that's not a real image, so it's fake, but like the idea of Gears 6 and maybe the Gears collection being real, he's not like saying that's fake news. You know what I mean? It's like the logo's fake news, right? So it's not...
Yeah, the logos are fake. And the problem with that is the cache of info, which suggested that there was a Gears collection, comes from the same photographs, the same so-called set of photographs. So for me, remember I said that I gave the Gears collection rumor a 7 nicks out of 10.
7 nicks out of 10 nicks, yep.
I'm degrading that.
You're degrading that? Nick's not gonna like this.
Yeah, we're going down to 4 nicks out of 10 now.
4? So wait, so you think there's more of a chance that Scalebound's real? Because I think you rated the Scalebound rumor 5 nicks out of 10.
Yeah, actually, yeah, the Scalebound rumor goes down to...
Oh, okay.
Scalebound rumor is going down to 3 nicks out of 10. And the Gears collection rumor is going down to 4 nicks out of 10, purely on the basis that I think a Gears collection makes a lot of sense. So yeah.
Okay.
That's the current status on those rumors for me. Until I get something more concrete,
Fair enough. Let me get a couple of these super chats in. Silver Joystick says, does anyone know why the Halo TV show was not exclusive to Game Pass? Game Pass could be a great vehicle for gamers and exclusive video content. Mainly because I think Paramount paid for the TV show to get made, since they were the ones making it. I can't imagine Microsoft also wanting to fund TV shows that they would put on Game Pass. Because you would need it. Just that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. To be on Game Pass, like somebody funded it, like HBO is funding The Last of Us, right? Because they're the ones who airs it. They're the one who renewed it today. It's getting like big acclaim and millions of people are watching it. So same thing here. Like Paramount Plus is the one paying for it. They're the one paying for the production. So it's like, why would they, since they're the one paying for it, why would they want it also streamable somewhere else? And and if you were going to do that, wouldn't Microsoft then also have to pay more money to make more TV shows? Because you couldn't just do one, could you? That wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And PandaMan77 says, best podcast show out there, much love. Well, thank you very much. That does mean a lot to us.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, let me see if there's any more, because...
Did you watch The Last of Us TV show?
Not yet. I will watch it.
I've only heard good things.
I mean, it's HBO. HBO usually puts out incredible shows. I'm not surprised. Last of Us was a very good story. And even when I was playing it, I thought, hey, this could definitely, cross barriers and be an excellent TV show. So, what we got here? We got some questions, Jez. Some questions from the wonderful people over at Patreon, which you can go subscribe to, patreon.com/XB2. A lot of different tiers. Keep in mind, we'll be doing the Jeff Grubb Xbox 2+1 on Monday, and one of the tiers is questions. So let me get into it. And geez, Jess, could you just make these super small so I can't read them? It's geez.
What?
The way you just copied and pasted it, it's like, it's like how small. Oh, here we go. That's better. Elijah Vasquez says, question from last week. Do you guys think it's possible that Microsoft could assign another studio like id to work on Halo's single player? The idea of M-rated Halo campaign built by id with smooth style multiplayer gameplay by 343 sounds like it could be a breath of fresh air. So what do you think about that?
I don't think that'll happen because...
Neither do I.
Yeah, as we said earlier, Bethesda's a limited integration team. And I think, like, if id came to Microsoft with a pitch saying, like, we have a great idea for a Doom-like Halo game, then it'd happen. But why would they? They've got their own shit to work on. I don't think they want to work on Halo. You have to remember, the people don't get assigned to things, really. You know, that people join 343 because they're passionate and fans of Halo. It's not like Microsoft put out an ad like we want worker drones to work on Halo. The people who joined 343, it's because they love Halo. Like a lot of the people that were fired, laid off, they are like super hardcore Halo fans. You know, they know the lore, they know all that stuff inside out and backwards, and you know, what if you wanted to work on Halo? Why would you be working at id? You'd be working at 343. You know, and it's not like until recently that they were on a hiring freeze, right? So yeah, I don't think that'll happen. You know, I think it'd be cool. Sure, I've said like I'd really like to see. I'd like to see a Call of Duty Halo game. You know, where you play as an ODST, and like instead of zombies, you get the Flood. I think that would work really well. But will it happen? Probably not. You know, because again, 343 is the studio for Halo. The only studio I can see being assigned things for Halo is Certain Affinity. That's because again they've got a lot of Halo DNA in the team. They're led by Max Hoberman, of course, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't think that'll happen. It's nice to think about and nice to dream, but yeah, I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah. I mean, like, id's got their own art style. Their games play totally different. They have their own ideas. I also don't think Microsoft will just assign somebody to them unless they came with a pitch that they really liked. It'll be other studios. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't like the idea to play a Halo campaign made by id, because I can imagine that, and that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I think you'll see like external third-party studios basically make campaign stuff. So his second question, Elijah, is do you think we'll see more shadow drops like Hi-Fi Rush in the future shows? I think we both answered before that we can see this happening, you know, again at some point. Don't expect this to happen at every show, but where it makes sense and where they could potentially do this, yeah, I think also Phil said in the interview we were just talking about that this was like the team's idea to do it. And maybe other teams might be looking at the success it is having and being like, let's try that for our game, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. But I do think it'll happen again at some point in the future.
You know what I think it helps avoid too?
What?
I think when they shadow drop games, it helps cut through the negativity that just surrounds Xbox. You know, because I saw a lot of people saying on Twitch and stuff, the first place they saw the game was on the Steam trending list. You know, so like when you you shadow drop it this way, you sort of like avoid the association with Xbox. And a lot, you know, as I discussed in my article and what I said earlier, I think Xbox has a desire problem. So when you associate something with Xbox, it could even hurt the brand, hurt the attractiveness of games in some cases, because Xbox has sort of built up this reputation for disappointment, frankly. So I think like shadow dropping it for this way actually cuts through some of that as well. But maybe I'm completely off base with that. But
Andrew McGregor says, with Elder Scrolls Online new DLC coming out in June, seems to kill the idea that Starfield is coming out in June. I think Forza is September and Starfield November. I mean, you can make that argument. You know, ESO stuff is in June. But I mean, ESO, I think the people who play ESO, you know, they're probably sticking to that game. They're the ones excited for the DLC. And I don't really think Starfield would very much change that. Or maybe it would. I don't know. But
I'd say
we'll just have to wait and see whenever Microsoft's ready and Bethesda's ready to talk about the release date for Starfield. You know, another thing that I guess you can, since we're on the subject of Starfield again, you know, we have Pong Soul's March Cabal group, right? For the release date. Another thing that you can sort of, that kind of points to it not happening in March is Microsoft, they revealed their future projections for this quarter. And they still project a decline, right? Even with all these games that are coming out, all these like the Dead Spaces, the Jedi's Fallen, Survivors, the Resident Evils, the Dead Islands, like all these games that are coming out this, January, February, March, they're still projecting a decline. And I feel like if Starfield was coming in March, they wouldn't be projecting a decline. Like, it would actually be positive, because that launch week of Starfield is going to be huge. You'd get so many, subs off of Game Pass, so many people buying it on PC, buying it on the console, collector's editions and all that. So, like, even their own sort of projections sort of also kind of say that don't expect Starfield in this quarter. So, sorry, Pong. Sorry to ruin your Cabal dreams and your Kool-Aid that you serve at the local tennis hall. Because that's what he does. He says, come on to the 50-50 Northwest at the rundown tennis hall where we're gonna talk about Starfield's release date on 3/23/23. Wow. We're gonna be talking about God Howard. Anyways, Robbie says, do you think we know all the Xbox first-party games releasing in 2023, or do you believe we will have more surprises like Hi-Fi Rush in store for us? With Game Pass and the success Hi-Fi Rush has already had, I don't think every game needs a months-long marketing cycle. If Starfield isn't delayed and neither is Forza, what could possibly be releasing this fall? Another surprise or possibly something revealed at the summer showcase? I do believe that there is probably something else releasing this year that isn't announced yet. Like Project Belfry is a prime candidate. Yes. A game that's unannounced that potentially could launch this fall. Yes. So that could be a surprise, and if that happens, that could be revealed at Summer Showcase, or maybe they do a fall developer direct and boom, drop it then. I don't know. But I agree with you that not every game needs a month-long marketing cycle. We'll just have to get to that point. I think a lot of it does hinge on when Forza and Starfield are releasing. If the ABK's deal is done and they have Call of Duty and what they can do with that and things of that nature. And quite frankly, probably the most important aspect is, are the games finished? Is Project Belfry done? Is Hellblade done and ready to come out? Those sort of things, right? Yep. Sleet says, what Ubisoft titles do you feel would benefit from going back to linear gameplay or going linear for the first time?
Hello.
Ubisoft, Jez, not... He said Ubisoft.
Oh, Ubisoft.
I'm trying to imagine what a linear Far Cry would be like. Or, you know what? Splinter Cell. Linear Splinter Cell. It's probably the way they're going to go. I could see the new Splinter Cell, the remake, being remade more in the vein of Hitman, right? Like, and what I mean by that is
World of Assassination.
What?
You mean the new Hitman World of Assassination?
Well, so the Hitman World Assassination includes Hitman 1, 2, and 3. But no, I'm talking about Hitman 1 was a linear set of like a progression, like basically how games are made back then. But I could see Hitman more being like not a direct remake, or I could see Splinter Cell not being more of a direct remake like, say, Dead Space, but more of a reboot where it's not like a linear level that you play through, but more of, here's the sandbox, like in Hitman. Here's a location, and here's all these targets, and now you're Sam Fisher, and you need to go infiltrate. I could see that being more of what they would be achieving with Splinter Cell. So I don't know, because like there's like, how do you bring back Splinter Cell in the modern age? Do you do an open world? And I think an open world would absolutely ruin what makes Splinter Cell special. But Hitman has shown that you build the sandbox and give players the tools, and you just select the targets, that it can be incredibly successful. And I feel that you could do something similar for Splinter Cell. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Splinter Cell is an obvious candidate. You know, I mean, a lot like when you think of Ubisoft's back catalog, it's like a lot of them were just always open world. They were kind of like the open world pioneers in some ways. I think like beyond open world, I think a lot of games would benefit from going sort of semi-open world. My favorite formula is sort of, I don't know what they call it. It's like wide linear. You have like an overworld. Yeah, you have like an
Tomb Raider
overworld
ish.
Like you have an overworld, which is sort of like quite vast, but then there's like intricate dungeons built into that, you know? Because I think you have to have those sort of like exploration moments where you're in sort of like a castle or something to break up this what can feel monotonous in an open world. I think Ubisoft games really, really lost that. They got to a point where it's like, okay, here's the open world, and all the interior locations are just copy and pasted. There's like nothing handcrafted anymore, which is why I was so excited in Elden Ring when you get to that first castle. You know, is it Godric's castle? If I remember right, the dude with the dragon for a hand. I can't even remember his name.
Yeah,
I think isn't it Godric? When you get to his castle, it's like, oh my god, it's open world, but there's still these intricate, handcrafted interior locations that sort of, you know, break up what can feel monotonous in an open world. And also like the Glintstone Academy thing. I can't remember what it's called either. You know, where you fight that moon chick at the end of it, and that crazy doggo in the you know, the lecture hall, where there's like the dogs like jumping around all over the place, and there's like ragdoll chairs flying all over the place. Like these interior locations gives you an opportunity to make a set piece, a memorable set piece. But if all you're doing is copy and pasting everything, you know, and Elden Ring had some copy and paste too, you know, to which again made it feel monotonous. Like all those you know, I can't remember what they're called now either. There's some of the extra dungeons where you just fight like a random copy pasted boss at the end. That kind of made me think like there's a little bit too much here, you know. But there was enough handcrafted stuff in Elden Ring that it was just kind of like yeah, this breaks up the monotony. But Ubisoft goes in the complete opposite direction. It's like there's almost nothing handcrafted in there, you know. So even if they didn't go full blown linear, I think like just scaling back a bit on the open world and having more sort of handcrafted areas would go a long way. Like even if like Assassin's Creed pulled back on being this vast, infinite open world where every building has to be copy and pasted, because if they weren't copy and pasted, it would take like 1,000,000 years to build. They should just scale it back a bit, you know, and give us the opportunities for moment to moment memory building set pieces. I'm hoping Prince of Persia works out like that. I think they were doing like a more simple remaster of Prince of Persia, but it sounds like they've gone back to the drawing board and they want to make something a little bit more special. But I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
What else we got here? Ethan says, I hate to ask the question, FYI. I am not a huge Halo fan, but does Halo really need to continue existing? Oh man, Jez is gonna love this. The main reason games are being made around it was because of how big the IP was due to Bungie's massive success. It is irrefutable that Halo does not make the money it should be making, and 343 have not reached anywhere near the successes of Bungie's efforts. If the investments aren't profitable and the fans aren't happy, why bother? Oh, Jez, this has got to be like your favorite writing question from the Patreons ever, right?
Man, I don't know. Like, I joke about like, does Halo need to exist a lot, but I kind of think it does. It does need to exist at the end of the day. It's sort of like, it's like it or not, it's Xbox's mascot. And I think Phil Spencer himself put it best when he said, if we lose our way with Halo, we lose our way with Xbox. It's kind of like a litmus test for what Microsoft is capable of. And yeah, it's been really badly managed. But a lot of that management layer that is responsible for that situation is gone. Chris Lee's gone. Bonnie Ross is gone. Whoever was to blame is probably gone at this point. And now we've got a new management structure in place. And Microsoft's probably going to be, you know, paying a little bit more attention to what they do next and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully, Halo will emerge in a better place for it. But at the same time, I do think the fans of Halo, and I'm sorry, everyone, you need to get over yourselves a bit.
Oh.
because I'm like, when I see people going crazy and scrutinizing over things like, should Halo have sprint, should Halo have a ground pound, all this kind of like granular overthinking about every little thing that they try and change. It's the kind of thing that's going to kill a franchise. If you make 343 so afraid to try new things, the franchise will die. It will literally die. And when I was saying earlier, they should reboot it and make it darker and make it more like the original Halo, people go, no, you don't know anything about Halo. That's the kind of mentality that will kill Halo. It will kill Halo, If you're not willing to accept any kind of change and you're so precious about like a rose-tinted view of what Halo is, it will die. The franchise will die. And I think if Halo fans can't get past that, then the franchise needs to just be let go. You need to let it go. I think 343 is terrified of upsetting the fans to the point where they've put themselves in a death spiral. Like, in a lot of ways, Halo Infinite felt like a regression from Halo 5 for me. I really liked Halo 5's ground pound. Like, why remove it? Whatever.
It's an interesting question, right? Because I think some people are thinking this after Neil Druckmann kind of came out and talked about the games they do and has said that like they're most likely done with Uncharted, which was incredibly successful for them, and that they might be done with Last of Us unless they can come up with a good story for them to tell in Last of Us 3, right? Most teams and devs, they stick with something that's working and they keep on doing it because it's what's popular. And there are some out there that is like, hey, we need to change up, right? So you look at Halo, and clearly there was something wrong with Infinite. It wasn't making any money. Not a lot of people are playing it. And, the question is, should it even exist? So 343 just move on and make something brand new like other studios do. Is Halo even that important anymore? It's an interesting question because it's certainly not as popular as it once was. The highs of the Halo 3 days are gone. Will Halo ever be as popular as it was? I would say no. I don't think so.
I think it could be, man.
I don't think it could be. I think Halo's had its time in the sun, and it's just... I'm not saying there's no audience for Halo. There is a big audience for Halo. But Xbox sort of acts, and Halo fans sort of act... Well, not all of them, but like Halo's the biggest thing in the world. And 343 is given all this latitude of kind of do what you want, but Halo's not that anymore, right? You tried going free to play. It didn't work out. You couldn't keep people playing. You can't appeal to the kiddies that are playing Fortnite or Apex Legends or Warzone. You have to accept that Halo as a franchise is not on that level anymore. It is not an S-tier franchise anymore. It's an A-tier franchise, but if you accept that it's an A-tier franchise and not an S-tier in terms of popularity, then you need to make your studio, build out your studio to those like budgets and those sort of expectations. I sort of feel like 343 and everything they've done has been built like, we still believe Halo is one of the biggest things in gaming, and I don't think it is anymore. Even though there is an audience for it that they can tell stories to and make a lot of money and delight fans across the world, it's not the biggest anymore, and I don't think it ever will be. So you kind of have to refocus and change things up and change your where you set your sights to, essentially.
Yeah.
How I would answer that question.
Gears has a similar problem, I think, but on a smaller scale. I think like the hardcore Gears community also potentially negatively impacted that game, and that's from speaking to people like the coalition and stuff, and the sort of tension, and all franchises that sort of have this sort of ongoing presence and try new things and whatever. There's always this sort of contention between changing too much and changing too little. It's like a tug of war, push and pull kind of thing, Sometimes you can change too much. And, looking at various other classic franchises that have been going on and on and on and on, that certainly happened, But Yeah, it's a hard balance to strike, and I don't envy it. And I think that's where it comes back to that question is like, the original question was, should Halo continue? I think like if you can't properly manage, when you get to a point where you can't meet hardcore fans' expectations, but you're not allowed to grow, I think that's the point where you try something new, blank slate.
Yeah.
And I think that is why they shadow dropped Apex Legends. And they said this in an interview. I read it when I was researching for an article. They literally said in an interview, we shadow dropped Apex Legends because basically, I'm paraphrasing it, they were afraid of how Titanfall fans would react. And the negativity that would have hung over that announcement would have damaged Apex Legends' potential. So instead, they just shadow dropped it. There was no opportunity for negativity. There was no comparisons to Titanfall. They were just like, yeah, it's in the Titanfall universe, but it's kind of not Titanfall anymore because Titanfall 2 didn't sell or whatever.
But you know what?
That sucks as a Titanfall fan because I'm a Titanfall fan. I'm not an Apex fan.
But maybe now, with the popularity of Apex and Respawn as a studio, maybe now you can do a Titanfall 3 and it could be popular, right?
Yeah. You want to hope so.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the trick, right? I don't know. Maybe Tatanka, maybe when they do get round to releasing the Halo Battle Royale, Tatanka or whatever, maybe that's the sandbox where you try new things and you try to appeal to a new crowd. And then you have your sort of Halo Infinite, which is your basic Halo game. Ground pound is too controversial for Halo. You can't have dash because it's too controversial for Halo. So like you can have your purest Halo experience in Halo Infinite, and then give me Tatanka where it's like we can try new things and make it a little bit different. Find a new audience, kind of like Apex Legends did.
Yeah.
I really want a Titanfall 3. No,
I know you do, and so do I. Parker Petrov says, I am Rand years old. Oh man, now we're using that as like.
Wow, that's really old. Jesus.
So I was around when Halo launched and understand why it's important. However, at what point do you think the media and fandom will stop acting like the Xbox sun sets and rises with the success of Halo? As God of War was one of Sony's biggest properties and was dormant for nearly a decade before coming back. Everything is a cycle and a time, yet it's always, what will Xbox do without Halo? How will Halo be fixed? How will Halo this or that? When do you think the media and fandom will recognize that Xbox is more than just Halo, and its success or failure is irrelevant to if Xbox will succeed or fail when there's Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, Gears, Age of Empires, Flight Sim, Forza, etc., which all prop up the platform and exist as someone's favorite Xbox franchise? He's right on, Jez. He's right on.
He's right on. He's right on, baby.
I mean, you're right. I mean, hell, Minecraft's bigger than Halo. I mean,
orders of magnitude bigger than Halo.
Orders of magnitude. I would shudder to guess where Xbox would be without Minecraft.
Since the advent of like Fortnite and Minecraft and stuff like that, it's kind of felt like every publisher needs their Minecraft. EA's got FIFA and Apex, Epic's got Fortnite and Rocket League,
2K's got GTA
and NBA.
Yep.
And every company's got their sort of ongoing service kind of game, which sort of anchors them to go broader and try new things, maybe drive a halo effect over the rest of the brand. I don't know. But like I was saying earlier, I really hope that EA looks at the success of Dead Space and just be like, you know what? Maybe some of our games can be more traditional,
Yeah.
But maybe that's wishful thinking.
Well, also to Parker's point, or at least to the opposite point, is like it was only Halo for so long, Parker. Right? That has been the franchise since 2001. And they didn't recently acquire Bethesda until 2021. And they're still trying to acquire, ABK, which obviously Call of Duty is much bigger than Halo. So, we haven't seen we haven't even seen Starfield and how that performs on Xbox. We don't know when Elder Scrolls 6 will come out or Fallout 5 and stuff like that. So it's more of just like a remnant of the past time and how things change so quickly, where Halo was the dominant game, but now there's other stuff. And I think people also want the glory days back. They want Halo to be popular again because it's nostalgia of like when they were playing Halo 2 for the first time and discovering online play and that whole aspect too that I think people really miss. So, yeah. Thank you for the question. We have one from Blytoven. Hey, Jezerino and Randman, as a huge isometric ARPG fan, Grim Dawn, Diablo, Path of Exile, I am super excited for Project Dragon coming from IO Interactive, one of my favorite studios. Do you think it will come in 2023 or is it still years away? Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
It's years away, bro. Years away.
Yeah, well, leaked that way too early. However, they did basically confirm its existence, kind of, in an interview recently. There's man, I don't recall it. There's a podcast with I'm just quickly trying to find the name of it. There was a Danish podcast recently, and they sent me an email, and they wanted me to report on the fact that IO Interactive had basically confirmed the fact that that Project Dragon existed, and the podcast is called Arcaden. And they had an interview with one of the writers at IO Interactive, Michael VOGT. Don't know how to pronounce that, so I'm not even going to try. But they sort of like, they kept mentioning Project Dragon, and while he didn't fully confirm it, he kind of awkwardly sort of skirted around discussions about it, which, you know, was kind of interesting, right? But yeah.
Yeah, it's years away, bro. I mean, even in their financial reporting, IO Interactive said basically they're not expecting any revenue until like 2025, 2026, which would be like when probably, you know, the 007 game comes out and Project Dragon around that time. So yeah, don't expect that game for a bit. And Jez, you are right. I told you not to leak that game because it was so far out. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah, well.
Let's see. We have Paul saying they announced that Forza Motorsport was running at 4K 60 FPS. I feel like they didn't clearly say the demo content was running on a Series X. Was it running on a Series X? Can we safely expect graphics on par with the demo running at 4K 60? They didn't mention what it was running on. Probably a PC, but I would, if they say it's going to be 4K 60 with ray tracing on track, that's what it's going to be. Yeah. So. We have a question here from Pebbles the Wise. Hey guys, so there are rumors floating around that Forza was hinting at releasing in June by saying coming 2023, with the font making this G look like a 6. On the off chance that this is actually the case, it would be weird to drop Forza, ESO's expansion, and Starfield the same month. Not to mention Diablo. However, I'm starting to think there's a non-zero chance that they could just shadow drop Starfield at its own showcase. If the scuttlebutt among the playtesters is that it's really impressive, then I'm guessing it isn't a buggy mess at the moment. We also know that Todd would rather wait to show anything about his games until people are literally able to go play them, and we all remember Halo Infinite's multiplayer launch. I'm just saying, February or March may end up being on the table. So we got another one of Pong's acolytes here as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure Todd would probably love to shadow drop Starfield and just get in people's hands. So
I would too. I would love that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it would be can you imagine you do this? But here's the thing: the problem with it's easy to. I'm not going to say it's easy, but you can shadow drop Halo's multiplayer because it's free to play. All you need is digital. There's no physical copies, right? You can shadow drop Hi-Fi Rush because it's digital only. The problem that runs in with Starfield is that Starfield is going to have a physical presence. Probably going to have collector's editions, right, that they want to sell. And those need to be shipped early to these places so they can get them on store shelves and sell them. So, like, if there was a shadow drop planned for the Starfield showcase event, you would start seeing, like, those copies show up in store shelves, and you'd be wondering why those copies are at a GameStop already. You know what I mean? You'd be like, oh, well, I guess it's got to be shadow dropping. And I mean, you are right. Like, oh, there'd be weird for Forza, Starfield, and ESO's expansion all to come in the same month. That's why it's probably not the case. Forza's clearly, I think, delayed. right? Phil even kind of mentioned that, but mentioned that they don't really have the date, and they'll share it when they do. They just wanted to reiterate that it's coming this year. So yeah, it's just a matter of, you know what? What if Pong's right? What if the Cabal's right? What if I'm gonna owe $500, Jez? What if it's 3/23/23? I'm starting to sweat a little bit now, man. Like, ugh, you know.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. That would be so funny. You know, I just discovered something random.
What?
You know, Forspoken is available to buy on the Xbox app.
yeah, it's on Windows 10 PC store. Yeah.
I had no idea. It's got 6 reviews. Currently sitting at a impressive 2 out of 5.
Oh.
And the only written review is, I bought it, installed it, and cannot log in. Every time I start the game, it asks me to log in. As soon as I select my user account, a message pops up and says, I can't log in because it hasn't been provisioned, and then kicks me out. So it sounds like the Windows Store version of the game is, drumroll,
broken?
Wow.
Imagine that. Well, that can't be because Jesse from Xbox Era played it on PC. On Windows 10. So I think Windows 10. Or maybe played it on Steam. I don't know. Yeah, he probably played it on Steam.
Steam, surely.
Yeah. Anyways. Achievement says, it looks like Hi-Fi Rush is already sold out. Outsold for Spoken on Steam, even with the large marketing budget that the game got. The data may show Starfield could play a similar release tactic and sweep social media, Steam, and Xbox in the same viral way. Yeah, but I mean, we shouldn't expect everything to shadow drop. So...
I expect every single game to shadow drop from now on, bro.
Are you on that now? Every single game to shadow drop?
Yeah, every single damn game.
Every single damn game. I mean... Yeah, I mean, you think about it, you know, I guess that would be really cool if there's like, oh, by the way, play it now, and then you have that same viral effect that Hi-Fi Rush had. Maybe they look at the data and they're like, we should really do this. But
I just got an interesting email here.
Oh, really?
From a chap called Jim.
Okay, what is Jim saying?
Who noted the fact that the CEO of Sony Pictures is one of the biggest donors to Joe Biden's campaign.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Interesting, I guess. I don't know. Tharsman in the Super Chat.
Potentially influence FTC discussions?
I doubt it. If anybody has questions in the chat, make sure you at me. Once I get through the Super Chats, we'll definitely read off some of your questions. So, yeah. Tharsman says, open world games need to learn from Skyrim and Breath of the Wild. Open world with linear dungeons levels peppered throughout the world. I agree. I like that. Mr. 2 Opinion...
Peppered pig.
Peppered.
No.
Mr. 2 Opinionated says, Halo fans don't deserve Halo. They hold it back. Oh, man, that's an opinion. You're definitely Mr. 2 Opinionated on that. RDX Son of Fett says, Halo Infinite failed because of too many temp workers. That's one of the reasons why it didn't do well. There's plenty of others. It wasn't only because of the temp workers. And he also said contractor time was up and it wasn't finished. True, but that wasn't why. That was just one reason why of many reasons why.
Yeah.
Fly Guy says, I need a mature, realistic graphics Halo. No little aliens G-hopping around screaming.
I hate that, actually.
You hate the grunts and everything? Yeah.
Enemies everywhere.
Okay.
It's annoying, man.
Mr. 2 Opinion says, if we could get a Halo game like the Halo 5 intro cutscene on a gameplay level, the fans would complain. Screw them, in my opinion. Damn. He feels a certain way about Halo. That is and their fans. That's for sure. Sorry, No Waffles says, hey guys, couldn't catch it live as I'm at work like usual. Can't wait to listen once it's out for download. Keep up the great work, fellas. Well, I hope you enjoy it later. And for those of you still here, make sure you hit the like button, all that good stuff. And let me get some of the questions from chat. Let's see here. We got J1 saying, any idea why there is already ratings on Minecraft Legends 5 stars with 4 votes? Bug? Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, on the Xbox thing?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, the Xbox, Microsoft's platform for reviews is just not very good. It's tied to the Windows Store. So like, I don't know how much Microsoft, I don't know how much the Xbox team has influence over how that works. And because it's tied to Windows, I expect it to be of a generally low quality. So the fact that it has reviews is, again, it's just one of those hilarious issues with Windows that'll probably get fixed in 10 years. So yeah, I wouldn't put a huge amount of stock in that right now.
Neither would I.
You can just post reviews for anything that's available for pre-order. It's these kind of little quality issues that's always going to prevent. It's always going to make Xbox's PC efforts. They're going to be one step behind Steam every time because of little shit like this. So,
yeah. Darth Vicious says, any word of memory card price drops or third-party sales?
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to write about this soon because I've been getting like an uptick of questions about this, and it's irritating. You know, like it's been how long now? You know, since the 2 years,
2 years and
3 years.
2 years and a couple months. 2 years and a couple months.
Yeah, it sucks. So this is one thing Sony unequivocally, unapologetically battered Xbox on. And it's the implementation of the SSD. The fact Sony allowed, like, you know, we were all there. We were all there mocking Sony.
Yeah,
especially Rand.
Hold on. I don't mock Sony. I like to make fun of Jim Ryan.
Rand was leading the toxicity all over Twitter.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Nah, but like we're all mocking Sony for being like they didn't have an SSD implementation at launch. You know, and like, wow, how can you launch a console without a bigger SSD option at launch? You know, but Sony was right. Sony's implementation was, it didn't launch with the console, but they did it the right way. You can tap into the whole ecosystem for NVMe SSDs, and you know you can use pretty much any SSD. And Black Friday really accentuated this for me because there was some amazing deals on SSDs that would have been perfect for PlayStation 5. And or perfect for Xbox, but Xbox went with this CF Express standard, which is really expensive and really exclusive. You know, not like pretty much, you know, no other platform uses it except for some cameras and stuff. So yeah, while it's convenient, it's inconvenient because of how bloody well expensive it is. So
yeah,
I'm gonna be writing about it soon. So we'll start putting some pressure on Microsoft.
Yeah, put the pressure on.
Pressure on.
Here we go. Cabal leader Pong Soul. He goes, showcase February equals 1 to 1.5 months. Plenty of time for Starfield marketing. Todd says he would drop a game a week after showing. ZeniMax Studios don't have to follow the rules.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's the Kool-Aid Pong's giving out at the local, you know, I don't even know anymore. I was trying to think of something different than basketball.
The local bowling hall.
Yeah, the local bowling establishment. Diz Guy says, what about State of Decay 3? When will we see more, do you think? Probably next year, I think. Unless it's in a really good state and they can show it now, but my guess would be next year. Yeah. El Blas says, any Sifu hype? Yes. Please play Sifu when it comes to Xbox in March. I played through it, got the platinum on PlayStation because I loved it so much, and I will get the platinum again, or I will get the 1,000 gamer score again. I can't wait to replay Sifu, and I hope.
You said I'm not good enough to play Sifu.
Definitely. I mean, you could probably be good enough to beat it on easy, but definitely. Well, no, you don't beat games, so yeah, you could probably beat it on easy. Definitely not normal though. Definitely not normal.
I'd absolutely pwn that game.
No, you couldn't.
I'm not. I play on hard mode.
No, then you definitely wouldn't. You probably wouldn't even beat the first level if you played it on hard.
Did you play on hard mode?
There wasn't a hard mode when it came out. It was just normal. And then the reviewers complained it was too hard, so they implemented an easy mode and then added a hard mode for people that wanted hard. Hard's like you die once, the game's over. Or whatever.
Completely over? No checkpoints?
I don't think. I think so. That's how hard it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why don't you do that mode if you're so good?
Oh, I'm not that good, bro. I'm sorry. I'm just not. I still died. I still died like 3 or 4 times even on normal. So.
I've been like depressed actually recently because I've been playing Monster Hunter Rise, right?
Okay.
And I was doing fine, like owning every monster really easily, not having a problem. And I was actually thinking, man, this is like they've made this easier because it's a Switch game or whatever. But then I fought Magnum Arlo, which is the box art monster, and he absolutely completely decimated me 3 times. And it's been a long time since I've ever been stuck on a monster in Monster Hunter. So I'm kind of like, oh damn. So maybe I'm just too old, man. Maybe I'm too old.
Maybe. Well, you're younger than me, so should you be too old? No.
I don't know. Maybe my brain's degraded. Like my memory's really bad, and maybe I'm dying, man. Maybe I'm just dying.
Abdel says possible Starfield coming May 30th, 4 weeks after Redfall. I just don't see that. No. That's also like a couple days after Suicide Squad, and yeah, I don't see that. Yeah. We have, let's see, Purple Haze says, Jez, where's my open world Justice League? No battle pass, just a good DLC story with 7 members only on Xbox.
Oh man,
probably canceled.
There's a lot of games. Yeah,
probably canceled is where that game is.
Yeah, kind of like sometimes we just can't have what we want in life. I can't have StarCraft 3, and you can't have Justice League without a battle pass.
Dominic says, I can't hear or read Shadow Drop anymore, so people have run that in the ground for him, which, fair enough. I'm sure there's a lot of people talking about it this week, especially even on this podcast. P3 Trans says, hey, Rand, in the times where marketing budget is equal to dev budget, Shadow Dropping a game on Game Pass effectively cuts total cost by 50% while maximizing Game Pass impact. True. But Dominic doesn't want to hear that word anymore, and I just said it again, so he's probably upset. J1 says, any interest on Wild Hearts?
Oh, yes.
I know Jez does because he likes the Monster Hunter thing. We'll see.
I like the Monster Hunter. Maybe I'm too bad to play Monster Hunter now. So
yeah. This guy says, why are you the greatest video game podcast in the world? Well, I mean, I don't think we are. I think there's other amazing podcasts out there, but if we're your favorite, that means the world to me. There's a lot of great podcasts out there, but I appreciate everyone who's here. We're almost 4 hours in, Jez, and there's still 1,000 people watching. 4 hours into this.
Yeah, I think we're the best, personally.
Fuzzy, what's going on, man? He says, any idea on the Game Pass family global release? I'm gonna throw that to you, Jez.
I have no idea.
No idea.
I've started getting this question more frequently because it did seem like
the test page was up, right?
Test page was up, so that sort of raised the possibility that it could be launching sooner rather than later. But yeah, I don't know yet. Yeah. I mean, did IGN not ask Phil about that?
It didn't seem like it. It wasn't. I don't know. I didn't read the whole thing. There's a lot there.
Maybe this is why they don't give me interviews with Phil, because they know I'd ask questions that they can't answer.
Yeah, that's very well. I mean, they could. And Pong says we call it the local temple. That's what he calls it. Okay, fair enough. Twisted Mental in the Super Chat says, Master Chief needs to be put on hold and release other games in the Halo universe like they did with Reach and ODST, or even introduce new enemies. I'd be down by that. I'd be down with that. Marcus says, Rand, Mistborn by Arcane or Rocksteady? Probably Arcane. Mistborn is a book series by Brandon Sanderson. It's a lot of powers, a lot of different abilities that I think Arcane could do well. A lot of different ways you could tackle an objective. It'd be great. It'd be great.
Lame. I want Arcane to make a Warcraft game. That'd be way better.
But Paul Simon says Microsoft is allowing studios to make more and more passion projects. Do you see this as a good thing, and should more studios follow suit? I think if they have an idea that they really want to pursue, why not? As long as it doesn't impact like the bigger game, like them doing Hi-Fi Rush probably doesn't impact the next big project that Tango's working on or whatever. Or, you know, with Grounded and Pentiment, that doesn't impact Avowed or Outer Worlds 2. So, yeah, why not? You know, if they're going to be that quality, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I think that's it. I mean, we're almost at 4 hours. What?
Just got Super Chat.
The yellow one I just read?
Oh, you just read that?
Yeah, I just did. Yeah, I'm getting a little tired. It's 4 hours long. So this will be the part where we end the show. So I want to thank all the Patreons for writing in their questions and supporting us. You guys are amazing. We have the Jeff Grubb, Xbox 2+1 show on Monday. So make sure you guys subscribe to that so you can watch it a week before everybody else. And who knows what we'll talk about, what sort of juicy secrets will come out. So keep that in mind. And I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Factor for sponsoring the Xbox 2 this week. And make sure you guys go to hellofresh.com/Xbox220. No, that's last week's sponsor, Jez. Oops.
You can do that.
There's so many of these here. Head to factormeals.com/Xbox260 and use the code Xbox260 to get 60% off your first box. Links in the description. I actually used it over the weekend. Or I actually used it over the week. Food just already made. You just pop it in the microwave and it's actually pretty good. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to the sponsor. Thank you to the Patreons. And we'll be back on Monday for the show, and then Friday next week for another Xbox 2 podcast. So
hype mode.
Yeah, can't wait. Later, guys.
Take care, everybody. Hugs.